We are Black Force. We are San Diego.
Last night at Petco Park, it was another big league debut, and how about Jacob Nix? 6 shutout innings as he picks up the victory in front of friends and family down from Orange County. A memorable night for all the Nixes and for Padre fans everywhere as the Padres took Game 1 of a 3-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Welcome back to Petco Park with Mark Sweeney. I'm Jesse Agler. Now Game 2 of this series, Mark, and tonight is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, we'll have the game for you, but we're also going to be talking a lot about defense all night long. Defense, very important.
Very important, and especially up the middle. And I think every organization would love to get their strength up the middle, meaning the catcher, the shortstop position, and center field. That's what the Padres need to do moving forward, and they have that. Freddie Galvis has been spectacular since he has been taken from the Philadelphia Phillies, and Austin Hedges is the guy that you're watching right now.
Up the middle, it has been strong. Padres will look to continue to develop that in years to come. So tonight, it's all about defense as we shine the spotlight on that part of the Padre game. When we return, well, as you know, trust is a must. Annie checks in with Eric Hosmer as we hear about those scoops that help out the rest of the infield over at first base.
With a nice pick from his backside. Freddie Galvis with a pretty spectacular play.
I think he's got the most accurate arm from shortstop I've ever seen.
Turner grounds one up the middle, ranging is Galvis from his knees. In time! Oh, what a play by Freddie Galvis.
And you just heard Padres players talking about their shortstop, Freddie Galvis, who has been tremendous for the Padres this season. And one guy that he throws a lot to in every game is first baseman Eric Hosmer. They have a relationship built on chemistry and trust. Here's more from Hosmer on why trust is such an important piece of a successful defense.
You have to trust, you have to have an understanding of the guy that's playing next to you because, you know, for instance, if there's a guy on second base and we're shifting a guy a little bit towards the line, I have to, kind of simulate or understand where or what kind of range to my right he can cover, and then from that point on, it's me covering the rest of the right side and the line as well. So, there's a lot of trust that has to do with it, and as well, and you have to know, each guy you're playing with, and you're trying to basically cover as much ground between the two of you as possible.
And Hosmer, a 4-time Gold Glove winner, has improved this defense since he arrived in San Diego. Well, coming up, the Padres look to flash the leather. Padres, Phillies, first pitch coming up on Fox Sports San Diego.
Freddie is almost like in football when they say a receiver has sure hands.
Oh, Freddie.
I think he's got the most accurate arm from shortstop I've ever seen.
Your body's going full motion, but your mind's in slow motion, so that way you can make the play first.
Oh, Freddie, work your magic.
Well, having Hosmer first, you have to catch the ball, and he's gonna do the rest.
It's on the run around the back in second, and the throw in time.
Nice stretch by Hosmer.
Austin takes control of the baseball game.
When that guy's coming in at home plate, you got a lot of adrenaline coming.
And the throw to the plate, and that is in time.
He, to me, is one of the most fun guys to watch behind the plate.
And Hedges, back to back, spectacular catch. He'll turn it into a double.
When you look across the game of baseball, you see Manny is one of the best young center fielders in the game.
Some kind of defense turned in by Margot tonight.
He puts his body on the line every time, whether it's running into a wall or diving for a play.
Leaps and makes the catch into the ivy.
Travis Jankowski, as good a range as you're going to find anywhere in the game.
Jankowski will dive and make the catch.
Those things light me up on the inside and it fires me up watching a guy play like that.
Freddie Galvis, one of many standouts defensively for the Padres this year. Eric Hosmer, the steady glove at first base, a big help, and we're going to talk defense tonight. But I tell you what, those highlights get me more fired up than any home run does. I'll admit that. I'm a defense guy. Mark Sweeney, it's a lot of fun when you see the guy going up and maybe robbing a home run or making the diving catch in the gap. And in the case of Freddie Galvis and these infielders, those rangy, tumbling plays that Galvis seems to have perfected.
I think if you look at Freddie Galvis and how he works at his craft and the ability to have that awareness and what he has to do, whether it's a sliding play or whether it's going to his left and turning and swiveling, it's been unbelievable to watch, and he has been the staple of this defense. That being said, here's the Padres defense brought to you by Nissan. Hunter Renfroe in left field, Manuel Margot in center, and Franmil Reyes in right field. On the left side, Christian Villanueva, Freddie Galvis, Corey Spangenberg and Eric Hosmer on the right side. Austin Hedges, who I think Andy Green understands the importance of Austin Hedges in the catching position, will catch. Walker Lockett.
Time now for the weather report, brought to you by your always sunny Honda dealers of San Diego County. Another warm one here in San Diego. It certainly cooled off a little bit from where it was this afternoon, but summer-like temperatures legitimately here in San Diego the last couple of weeks. Hope everybody is staying as cool and hydrated as you possibly can with Mark Sweeney, Annie Heilbrunn, and our entire Fox Sports San Diego crew. I'm Jesse Agler. Gabe Kapler saw his team shut out for a second consecutive game last night, and he's going to roll out the exact same 1 through 8 here tonight. Hernandez, Hoskins, and Williams at the start, with Santana, Cabrera, and Herrera in the middle. Michael Franco, the catcher, Alfaro, and Aaron Nola, the starting pitcher, rounding out his starting 9. That whole conversation about batting orders is an interesting one to have, and Walker Lockett gets the opportunity to face off with the same 8 position players as Jacob Nix did last night.
24-year-old right-hander making his 3rd career start, 4th appearance, and the first time through is very important. He had struggled the last time in Chicago, the 2nd time through, and they put on a show, and he made some good adjustments. Now the feel of the secondary. We saw Jacob Nix last night have success with the changeup and the curveball against this Philadelphia Phillies lineup.
Justin Bour is here, acquired yesterday via trade with the Miami Marlins, and he is expected to fill a power bat off the bench kind of role for the Phillies here in this home stretch. He is on their active roster tonight. That's a nice little pickup. It really is.
Sure is, and he can hit the fastball. That's a reason why he fits perfectly as that bench player.
So last night, Jacob Nix made his major league debut, 6 shutout innings. Tonight, Walker Lockett looks for his first major league win, and we're underway as he misses to Cesar Hernandez. Hernandez, the usual leadoff man and second baseman for the Phillies. And again, last night, to me, Mark, Jacob Nix, 7th pitcher in Padre history to throw 6 or more scoreless innings in his debut. Nobody had done it since our old friend Odrisamer Despaigne in 2014. And all these young guys making their major league debuts the last couple of years. He's the first one to pick up a win since Dinelson Lamet did it last May in New York against the Mets.
Well, tip of the cap to Jacob Nix, and today probably feels very comfortable knowing that he went out there and performed at the major league level for the first time. What a special moment.
1-2 to Hernandez, and Lockett brushes him back a little bit. Walker's a big guy, as you might be able to tell. Hernandez not so much. 6'6", 245 pounds. 19 starts at AAA El Paso this year. He was the Padres minor league pitcher of the year in 2016. And now a full count to the leadoff hitter. Lockett's last start came on a warm and windy afternoon at Wrigley last Saturday. And a leadoff walk here issued to Hernandez as we take a look at the keys to the game. And they are brought to you by your San Diego Honda dealers.
Well, on this defensive themed broadcast, we're going to make the Colonel proud. We miss Jerry Coleman so dearly, and he is going to hang a star on a defensive play for the Padres tonight and challenge the Phillies D. Bottom 5 in defensive runs saved, which we will go over during this broadcast.
Would be only fitting if Ted Leiter, Bob Scanlon next door in the radio booth had the opportunity to hang the star once or twice here tonight. Leadoff man aboard for the Phils against Lockett. Rhys Hoskins dangerous but slumping, and Lockett having some trouble finding the strike zone here early on. Hoskins 0 for 4 with a strikeout in yesterday's win for the Padres. He is now 0 for his last 20, but he has hit more home runs and driven in more runs than any other Philly this year.
You're going to have to be aware of the running game because the Philadelphia Phillies, as you said, Jesse, have been shut out 2 straight times. They're going to change it. They're going to press the issue. 14 stolen bases for Hernandez.
Phil's now 19 consecutive innings without scoring a run. That goes back to the 8th inning of their game Tuesday in Arizona. Kapler's team shut out Wednesday in Phoenix. Again last night. They have not been shut out in 3 straight games since 2010. And that's the fate they're trying to avoid here tonight at Petco. Lockett, a 4th-round pick by the Padres in 2012. High school guy out of Jacksonville, Florida. Mentioned he was the team's minor league pitcher of the year 2 seasons ago. In 2016, he pitched at Fort Wayne, Lake Elsinore, San Antonio, and El Paso. That's a heck of a run in a single season to go from short season A ball all the way up to AAA. Hoskins pops it up. How about some defense for Austin Hedges? That's routine and 1 away here in the top of the 1st.
Defensively, watch Austin Hedges flipping that mask off. It's a helmet, getting it discarded and having the awareness of squeezing that. Remember, that catcher's glove typically is a smaller version glove. Austin Hedges really loves that glove work. Remember, Pudge Rodriguez had a really small glove. A lot of the catchers would like to have that transfer, and if you have a smaller glove, a little easier to put into that throwing hand.
It's one of those things Austin's worked on the last couple of years, a quicker transfer from catcher's mitt to bare hand on those stolen base attempts, and it has gotten even better for him. Being one of the elite guys in terms of pop time the last couple of years. I think last year he was fastest in the National League. That's how they measure how quickly on a stolen base attempt at second base, catcher gets up out of his crouch and releases the ball down to second base. None of this will come as any surprise to Padre fans who watch him on a regular basis. You don't need any fancy numbers to know just watching Austin Hedges as quick as a cat back.
I'll tell you, the only disappointing thing it is that there's not a lot of running game in the game of baseball now, and you don't get to see one of those huge strengths from Austin Hedges too many times. I think just adds to the priority of what you can do when you are able to have that transfer and have that good pop time.
It would have been fun watching Austin in the 80s against the running Redbirds. Get a lot of opportunity, that's for sure. Looks like Hernandez maybe leaning there as Lockett checks on him. A lot of attention being paid. The leadoff man, Cesar Hernandez, who drew a walk against Lockett. He has stolen 14 bases this year, been caught 3 times.
I think start looking at that sun over at Eric Hosmer, and that's the ability that when you feel very comfortable having a bigger glove. We talked about Austin Hedges' glove. First baseman's mitts sometimes are used even to shield the sun. Up in Colorado, those night games, typically you have that sun shining right in towards left field. Very difficult, much like tonight.
Yeah, you can see Hosmer's kind of squinting through it. The 5:40 start, a little bit of a weird time. Good change up there now, 2-2. And that one that popped out of his mid a couple of throws ago, I would bet is related to that sun.
Now, good changeup by Walker Lockett. That's going to be a priority tonight, especially early in this game with all the shadows.
Williams stays alive, and speaking of defense, Williams had a nice catch the other night in Arizona, went up, took a home run away in right field at Chase Field. I love asking guys like that, what do you enjoy more, hitting a home run or robbing a home run? And most of these outfielders will tell you it's the defensive play.
Yeah, when you rob it, you can snatch it and bring it back. I think a lot of fields now are starting to incorporate those fences, much like Petco Park here down in left field. You have the ability to snatch a home run and take it back from the fans.
See if the Phils put Hernandez in motion here with a full count, 1 away. He is running, and Williams hits it fair down the right field line. That's going to be trouble. Long way to go for Reyes to find that one in right, and coming in easily, Hernandez on his way to third. Nick Williams, an RBI triple, and the Phillies take a 1-0 lead here in the first.
Well, Jesse, looked like a 3-2 changeup to Williams. Threw a very good one earlier in the at-bat. Yeah, that's a changeup. And you can see the defensive shift in the outfield was the opposite way. Changeup and not locating it makes it very difficult. Look at Reyes in right field, right down the line, and Reyes is nowhere to be seen. Easily scoring is Hernandez on that play. It's not only the infield shifts, but it's the outfield as well.
As you see, Andy Green elects to bring his infield in now with Williams at third base, one away. And Santana swings, grounds it to Hosmer, and he handles that perfectly as they keep Williams at third base and collect out number 2.
Watch Hosmer going to his left, and he is known for having a very accurate arm. That's the reason why Nick Williams probably prefers to stay at third base.
Former Met as Drupal Cabrera, switch hitter playing shortstop for the Phillies. Got off to a slow start when he was traded to the Phils, has heated up, and right now probably swinging about as good of a bat as any of the Phillies are, as they have finally broken through for a run here in the first inning after going 19 consecutive innings without a run. Lead walk to Cesar Hernandez started some trouble. Nick Williams brought him in with the triple, and now Lockett an opportunity to limit the damage if he can get through Cabrera.
You got to be careful of those get me over breaking balls to Cabrera. He loves those. These veteran hitters will sit on those breaking balls at times.
Cabrera, 32 years old, made his big league debut with the Indians back in 2007. A little bit of time with Washington, then Tampa, and then the Mets 2016, 2017, and up until about 3 weeks ago. Lockett doesn't get that call. Now 3-1 with first base open. Hitters count, and he hits it out towards right center field. Long way to go. Margot Reyes, neither will get there. Up against the wall, more extra bases. And a 2-0 Philadelphia lead here in the first.
Now back-to-back extra base hits, and it's coming off his secondary stuff. You saw the changeup to Nick Williams, the breaking ball, 3-1 breaking ball. But it's the location of the breaking ball that Cabrera capitalizes on, shooting the gap for a 2-out RBI. Philadelphia Phillies being shut out the last 2 games, liking that early offense.
Early visit from Darren Balsley and Austin Hedges to speak with Walker Lockett. Phil's got to feel like they broke the seal a little bit after a couple of games with no offense to speak of whatsoever. Padres won last night 2-0. Phillies had their chances. I mean, they out hit the Padres. They left 10 men on base, but a good job, especially by the Padre bullpen, of stranding would-be runs on the bases late in the game. Phils couldn't come up with that big hit with runners in scoring position. Runner on second, 2 outs for Odubel Herrera. Phillies center fielder swings and misses at a first pitch fastball. 0-1. th pitch for Walker Lockett in the inning is in the air to center. Margot coming on in, and Margot will make the catch to end the top half of inning number 1. Couple of runs for the Phils. Padres coming up. Padres baseball brought to you by Petco, the pet company. By Cadillac. Visit your San Diego Cadillac dealers today. And by RCP Block and Brick. Start your outdoor project at rcpblock.com. Bottom of the first inning, Phillies get a couple against Walker Lockett. Now Andy Green's offense going to try and answer back against Aaron Nola. Padre lineup brought to you by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. Margot, Hosmer, and Renfro due to hit here in the first. Reyes, Hedges, and Galvis. Christian Villanueva back in the starting lineup. Spangenberg eighth, and the pitcher Walker Lockett will hit ninth.
Let's take a look at the scouting report from Aaron Nola and a possible Cy Young candidate. Probably the top 3. Jacob deGrom and also Max Scherzer. Any pitch, anytime. He does not fall into patterns. Fastball, curveball, and changeup. The changeup's been the difference this year.
Coming into today, Padres with 3 guys leading the team in hitting. One is Manuel Margot. Hosmer and Perella the others. .254 batting average for Margot. Held off the bases in the win last night against Philadelphia. And a pretty good test for this young Padre team against Aaron Nola. Padres did not see Nola when these two teams got together in Philadelphia last month. He's 12-3 with a 2.37 ERA. That's the 3rd lowest ERA in the National League. He was an all-star for the first time this year, and he is in the Cy Young conversation. That one is beat into the ground and nicely handled by Nola. Good defensive play, one away.
Time for the Phillies defense, brought to you by Cadillac. From left to right, Hoskins, Herrera, and Williams. Left side of the infield, Michael Franco as Drupal Carrera, Cesar Hernandez, and Carlos Santana at first base. Jorge Alfaro catches Aaron Nola. 7th overall pick. 2014 out of LSU.
Baton Rouge. Grew up there. Good name for that. Nola, like New Orleans. Grew up in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, they have that on the basketball unit, right? Nola?
Yeah. Pelicans. 3-hit night last night for Eric Hosmer to raise his batting average. He has hit in 14 of his last 16 games. And I think the thing we were most impressed about last night was the 3 base hits that he had. 1 to left, 1 to center, 1 to right.
Yeah, to me, this is a good matchup tonight because Aaron Nola has that arm side run that you'll get to see. Very aggressive with the fastball. But he'll try to drop that breaking ball early. He throws a lot of strikes. I think the Padres' philosophy has to be being very aggressive tonight.
Only 2 strikeouts in his last start against Miami. That's a little bit of an anomaly for him. Not that he's a 15 strikeout guy, but he's usually hovering towards double digits. And you see 144 strikeouts in 148 innings this season. The only two guys in the National League with lower ERAs, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. And that group of three, I think, is the Cy Young conversation at this point in the National League. Three guys from the same division.
Yeah, Aaron Nola has struggled at times coming out of the All-Star break. You wonder if a young pitcher is going to be able to sustain it throughout the whole year. You think of Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, you know they already have that resume built up. Aaron Nola has been the talk of the National League this year of jumping to that next level.
Good take by Hosmer. He draws a walk here. Talking about the Cy Young conversation. I don't know that Nola is anybody's favorite, but like we said, he's in the conversation with Scherzer and deGrom.
And I think that is a reason that Aaron Nola is assuming that primary role as your ace, and he embraces it. Think about his best start this year. It was in Boston, going into Boston and pitching 8 innings against that lineup, the best team in baseball.
Say anything to you that all three of those guys pitch in the National League East?
It sure does.
Yeah.
A couple teams, a weaker division this year. And you could say probably the Washington Nationals have been the bigger disappointment in the game of baseball.
Who would you vote for? The season ended today and you had a vote.
I'm still going Max Scherzer. It's 15 wins. It's the strikeouts, which I think is a voter's dream when you think of how exciting it is. But I think he has a slight edge, and I think Jacob deGrom has been phenomenal in a Mets uniform. Other than the record, he's as advertised.
You wonder if in 2018 there are still enough voters who will obsess over the win-loss record that it'll hurt deGrom. Personally, I hope not, but you never know. None of that any fault of his own. Actually got some run support the other day for the first time basically all season.
I think, Jesse, if you look at Aaron Nola as well in that same conversation, it's a tribute to his work ethic and what he has done to take him to that next level. Now when you have that thrown on you and that you've set that bar, what do you do the following year? And I think Aaron Nola likes those challenges.
High draft pick you mentioned, 7th overall out of LSU back in 2014. And a good test, certainly for a Padre offense that has done a really nice job. You go back to that last road trip, even last night, just kind of fighting and battling, taking good at bats against, you know, some quality pitchers and some quality teams.
Yeah, and I think they took a step back last night, other than Austin Hedges, who had a very good offensive night. You mentioned Eric Hosmer, Hunter Renfroe, and also Franmil Reyes have to step up again, try to sustain that hot streak.
Hosmer at first base, and Renfroe takes a little bit low. Change up that time from Nola. The count fills up.
And the changeup is how he will try to induce that ground ball. It's a harder changeup, 86 miles an hour.
Hosmer's reached safely now 4 straight plate appearances. And he is running on 3-2 as Renfroe shoots it the other way for a base hit. Haas going to go first to third easily. Worked out perfectly for the Padres, and they're set up with runners on the corners, 1 away. Nice piece of hitting by Hunter Renfroe.
I love Hunter Renfroe, and you can watch how deep he lets this ball travel. See him tracking it so far and hitting it the other way. That vacated area defensively for the Philadelphia Phillies. And the hit and run, first and third action for the Padres.
Hosmer took a very kind of cautious approach with that. He didn't take off from first base until he was 1,000% sure Nola was coming home with the ball. Didn't end up mattering, as you said. Renfroe shot it right where the defense was, and now Franmil Reyes stands in with runners on first and third. So Renfroe had the 7-game hitting streak come to an end last night, right back on the horse in his first at bat today. And Franmil out in front, 0-1. Last night we saw Gabe Kapler's pitchers paying a lot of attention to base runners, and that has continued here in the first inning today.
Now pitching backwards is Nola. First pitch breaking ball, then he goes to the fastball inside. Adding and subtracting.
Mike Renfroe, Franmil Reyes trying to get back on the horse after the quick 0 for yesterday. Still 9 for 18 since coming back from AAA. He and Renfroe went back-to-back the other day in Milwaukee. It was the third time this year the Padres had hit back-to-back home runs, but the first time since April. And if I gave you 10 guesses as to who the last two Padres were to go back-to-back, you would not even come close. It was Clayton Richard and Carlos Asuaje.
Wow.
At Coors Field.
Coors Field, yeah. Yes, I was going to say that. It's the only way I'd get it.
Hard hit and off the umpire foul. Mike Winters did his best to get out of the way. That one caught a piece.
How about the San Diego resident Mike Winters, the crew chief, in foul territory and wearing that on the leg. It's not a good start to his game.
Usually think about the plate umpire taking a whack, not the guy down at third base. Umpires in play, by the way. If that's a fair ball, it's a live ball. Got to play the ricochet off the ankle. Reyes takes a little bit low with that changeup. And the Padres, if nothing else, have made Nola work here in the bottom of the first inning. A guy I think that's thought of as a strike thrower has not been here in the first inning tonight. Phils with an RBI triple and an RBI double in the top of the inning. Padres trying to answer back. Reyes hits it to shortstop. That's one, and that is the end of the first inning. Double play finishes it off. 2-0 Phils after one.
Called defensive runs saved, where we can tell you how many runs each player on the field has saved or cost their team in terms of their defense. So, for example, Mookie Betts with the Red Sox, the absolute best outfield defender in all of baseball over the last 3 years, has saved over 70 runs in that time. Put that in perspective, 10 runs is about a win. That's 7 wins just with his defense.
And that was John Dewan, founder of Baseball Info Solutions. And it's a really interesting story. Dewan actually started his career as an insurance actuary back in the 80s before he decided, hey, I love numbers and I love sports. Why don't I just research numbers for sports? And so that's what he's been doing his entire life, analyzing these numbers and statistics and providing them for teams. And his current company, Baseball Info Solutions, specializes in these defensive statistics, like you heard there, defensive runs saved. And he's got researchers and scouts who spend 12 hours on every major league game analyzing these statistics and then providing them to teams. So Sweens, Jesse, I'm really interested in your take on this. Defensive runs saved, it seems like an underrated statistic, but one that can prove to be very helpful for teams.
Absolutely, Annie, and I think the interesting thing about some of the defensive analytics is it's allowed us to move away from fielding percentage, which I think forever was really the only defensive stat we had. And it didn't really tell you much other than, did the guy make an error when the ball was hit to him? It didn't tell you anything about his ability to go and get it, or his ability to make a throw, or how much room he covered, anything like that. And I think there was a real kind of missing, block of information in baseball for defense.
Well, as you can see the graphic, most defensive runs saved for the Padres in 2018. And one of the interesting aspects, Clayton Richard on that list. But Freddie Galvis, to me, is the guy that solidifies this defense, takes it to another level, and then with the worth of Austin Hedges behind the plate. Andy Green absolutely loves what Austin Hedges has been doing since he's come off the disabled list.
Galvis has been a finalist for the Gold Glove. Hedges certainly appears to have that in his future, if not more. And strike one delivered to the number 8 hitter, Jorge Alfaro. Interesting thing about John Dewan, as Andy told us, was he was an insurance guy, an outsider, truly, in baseball, and he's had a huge impact on this game. And you think about Bill James, the father of sabermetrics, or the godfather, grandfather, whatever you want to call him, and another guy that was essentially an amateur. And if you follow Pitching Ninja on Twitter right now, this guy is completely changing the way we evaluate pitching, and he's working with big league pitchers, all these guys who didn't sort of come up in a traditional way in the game, having an absolutely huge impact on the way we view baseball.
Well, like you said, Jesse, it's not just fielding percentage. It's not an eye test that I think a lot of people used when you thought of shortstops like Ozzie Smith and Omar Vizquel. Those are the elite. To me, the eye test really comes down to Nolan Arenado in our division. We get to watch him a lot. And really, what is that ability? And defensive ability, you can see. These are their measurements.
So if you're in the plus 10 category, you're great. You saw the Padre leaders at this point in a plus 7 range, so on their way to great, and obviously that adds up as the season goes on. That's where you want to be at the end of the year. And if you can get up to plus 15, your Gold Glove caliber. Eric Hosmer has been that, a Gold Glove winner.
There's different aspects defensively of what you can have. Range has a lot to do with, I think you're judged on that. When it comes to the eye test, the speed element, route efficiency. I think the one guy that comes to my mind that I played with that a lot of people don't talk about is Vinny Castilla. And he was a third baseman for the Rockies for so many years. What made him very good is not only was he a former shortstop that moved over to third base, but his accuracy of throws. Everything was always to the chest. And I don't think that is something that you necessarily measure, but no matter where he threw it from, whether it was a swinging bunt or a play to his right, he had the ability for that accurate arm with a lot of strength on it.
Now full count to Alfaro. I think, by the way, he thought after that foul tip that he had struck out. I think he made it all the way back to the dugout. At first I thought maybe he had broken his bat, or he wanted to get, the pine tar rag or something. But I believe now, judged on those reactions from Philly dugout, he thought he was out. Line into right, and Franmil with that sun right in his face makes it look routine. Couple of putouts for the Padre right fielder here in the second inning. And you look back at the last 3 years, the leaders in defensive runs saved totaled up. And yeah, Mookie Betts way out in front. Kiermaier's been injured a lot of that time. Shows you how good he is being a part of that list. no great surprises here, I don't think.
Yeah, Addison Russell to me might be a surprise because you look at the defensive positioning of shortstop. I would say Francisco Lindor would be in there, and it's Addison Russell instead. Kevin Kiermaier, as you said, injury-wise, I think a lot of people arguably say he is probably the best outfielder other than Mookie Betts.
Breaks off a good curveball there to hop in front of Nola, 0-2. Lockett looking for a bounce back inning after that long first. And now all he's got to do is finish off the pitcher. He does. Well placed changeup. First strikeout of the night. And a 1-2-3 second inning.
Coburn on the curveball. Caminetti, big time play, throws from his. Oh my goodness, what a play! You talk about star hanging, unbelievable throws. Look at this from the seat of his pants.
That's our Coors Light refreshing finish. One of the most iconic defensive plays, not only in Padre history, but I think in baseball history.
Oh, the late Ken Caminetti, 1996 NL MVP, defensive wizard, and had a bazooka for a right arm.
That's an unbelievable play.
And he comes into the dugout, he acts like he didn't even do anything. There's Cammy. Man, do I miss him. One of the most ultimate competitor, and you can see the Padre records, most Gold Gloves won all time.
And Tony's development, and I think that's the right word to use, into a Gold Glove outfielder is such a good case study because when he showed up, he was not a plus defender, and he worked hard on it. And all those stories of him long tossing and working his tail off in the outfield to turn himself into a great outfielder, I think tell you, well, I guess what you already knew about Tony Gwynn.
I think the biggest thing is that being athletic, which Tony was, doesn't necessarily make you that unbelievable outfielder. You have to work at your craft. And I think Tony Gwynn put a lot of time into it. Everyone always sides with his hitting, which you should, because he was so unbelievable at that. 5 Gold Gloves.
Breaks his bat, and it pays off. Austin Hedges drops one into left field for a base hit. Lead man aboard here in the second inning against Aaron Nola.
Well, we got a stolen base threat on first. One of the biggest plays last night was his stolen base for that first run, and a broken bat dumping into left field. Austin Hedges is hot.
That would be a 7-game hitting streak now. No undershirt required.
Some chest lettuce, isn't it?
Now the former Philly, Freddie Galvis, continued to terrorize his former team in last night's game. You mentioned Hedges' stolen base in the second inning set up the first Padre run as Galvis singled him home. Freddie 2 for 3 with that RBI. He stole a base, now 8 for 14 against Philadelphia this year. Galvis behind Nola, no balls, 2 strikes. As an outfielder, what was the trickiest time of day? Was it this time, sun's going down, you get weird shadows, weird lighting, that kind of thing, or is it when it gets a little darker?
I would say this time, because you're fighting the sun, but you're so concentrating on the hitting zone, the hitting area, because you really have to read the ball off the bat, and you have to rely on sound if you don't see that ball in the strike zone. What's so imperative as an outfielder is that first step and your reaction.
You see Williams bathed in some sunlight in right field. Herrera and Hoskins in the shadows. Well, Nola has missed a fair amount tonight. I mean, the ball strike ratio is out of whack for him, but he isn't missing by much.
Yeah, and you know what? He's working the edges. He's trying to create different spaces. That's what's impressive, and he gets that run that you can't give up on if you're Freddie Galvis and those left-handed hitters.
How about the old school clicker pitch counter for Rick Kranitz? Galvis at the plate, and it's the glove we've talked about most of this season for the Padres shortstop. Talk about iconic defensive plays. This is one of the best I've ever seen. Been an absolute treat watching Freddie Galvis play shortstop this season for the Padres. A couple of times now, just kind of reaching out, spoiling. Padres have shown good discipline here against Nola.
And that's important. And why? Because you're fouling off a pitcher's pitch, trying to expose you out of the strike zone. Gives you that opportunity to capitalize on a mistake.
Hedges at first base, Galvis at the plate. Both guys, I think, over the courses of their careers have been looked at as defense first guys. That's always such an interesting thing because they know you still got to hit. They want to hit. So kind of balancing that is such an interesting thing with guys like that.
Yeah, and you wonder what's going to unlock that offensive ability. All these guys have had some success in the minor leagues.
Galvis last year at .255 with the Phillies. 12 homers, 29 doubles. Spoils another one.
And that's the mistake there. I think Freddie Galvis would like to have that pitch back. Maybe sitting on an off-speed pitch, a little late on that fastball. The location. Remember, he fouled off those tough pitches. He gets one down the middle.
Eighth pitch of the at-bat taken low, and now a full count, 3-2 on Freddie Galvis.
Oh, you gain so much confidence when you start battling a couple pitches off the plate. Aaron Nola has that command, so you can see it out of the hands.
Mentioned Hedges stole a base last night. They checked on him. Came on a 3-2 pitch, in fact. We got Corey Spangenberg at the plate.
Yeah, because of Freddie Galvis has shown that he can see the pitches out of Aaron Nola's hands, maybe set him in motion.
There he goes. Galvis swings and misses, and Hedges steals it anyway. Ball goes into the outfield. Austin doesn't see it. Still there at second base now with one away, but Austin Hedges now with stolen bases in back-to-back games.
Just seemed like Alfaro took his time on that. Everyone talks about how great his arm is, but watch the transfer. Takes a little bit of time and runs this one into the runner of Austin Hedges, really exposing Cabrera. Takes a long time to get it there.
If Cabrera is able to field that throw, might have a pretty good shot to get Austin, but he didn't. And in scoring position now for Christian Villanueva, who's back in the lineup. Christian sat down the last couple of days after that collision with Hunter Renfroe in Milwaukee. Had a sore wrist. Hedges stole a base on a strikeout pitch in yesterday's game, doing it again here today. And now we'll see if Villanueva can pick him up the way that Galvis did last night. Catchers running will always make me think of Jason Kendall. Dad Fred, a Padre, back in the day. He was leading off for a while in Pittsburgh, Jason Kendall.
Took a lot of pitches, battled a lot of hitters, a lot of pitchers, and had that reputation of giving you that solid at bat every time in the batter's box.
The Phillies used Knapp, their other catcher, as a leadoff hitter earlier this summer, I think against the Pirates, and it was the first time a Philly catcher had led off in the live ball era, which is like 1920 or whatever. Padres last time, catcher in the leadoff spot, July of 2015, it was Derek Norris. I guess Carlos Ruiz wasn't much of an option.
No.
Top of the order. Bob Boone.
Slower.
Padres have made Nola work really hard first couple of innings, and Villanueva's hit by that pitch.
See the fastball running in on Villanueva, catching that elbow guard. Now for the Padres, they have to capitalize. Nola hasn't had that command. Hasn't been very sharp. I don't want to let these pitchers hang around, because when they figure it out, they can start getting into a groove.
Runners on first and second, one down. He got a double play to get him out of trouble in the first inning. Not an easy guy to double up here. And again, he's missing, but just barely.
Yeah, and that's that curveball that he wants to drop in for a strike. Corey Spangenberg is hunting that first pitch fastball.
Nice numbers with runners in scoring position this year for Corey. And his 4-game hitting streak snapped last night in the Padre win. These are the battle at bats that Andy Green and Matt Stairs have talked about incessantly all season long, and that they've really seen in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's been improvement. Andy Green likes it. He likes the compete factor in the batter's box.
Former Philly Matt Stairs.
Hitting coach Matt Stairs. He wants him to hunt that fastball, look for a certain area in this situation.
Spangenberg hits it on the ground to Santana. He thought about second base and wisely takes the force at first. Pitcher coming up, a little bit of a no-brainer, especially with Spangenberg's speed. So runners on second and third, 2 outs. Solid defensive play. Well, it wouldn't be a terrible time for Walker Lockett's first major league hit. Put up pretty good numbers at El Paso this season at the plate. AAA hit .208 with a homer and a couple of doubles. Beware Aaron Nola. Good rip at a fastball, 0-1. .40 pitches for Aaron Nola as he works here in the second inning. Pitching coaches will tell you want to see a guy around 16 an inning. He's not way out of whack, but obviously is not at his sharpest. A couple of hits, a walk, a hit batter. And now he's fallen behind Walker Lockett.
Yeah, the benefit of all of these pitches is it's information. Runners in scoring position, you wonder if it's taxing. Gabe Kapler's looking up at that pitch count, seeing that Aaron Nola doesn't have his stuff early in this game. You see the defense shifted way over against Lockett. Herrera and Williams all the way over, guarding that right field line.
Lockett takes another close one, and now he's in command. 3 balls and a strike.
Well, to me, this is an automatic take because the command has been wavering.
Nola's had a couple of games this year where the walks have been an issue, and now already his 4th 3-ball count of the night. Runners take their leads. Lockett swinging and missing. Strike 2. A 4-walk game in May at Milwaukee. Another one earlier against Chicago. He had a 4-walk game in New York at the beginning of the season. Payoff pitch, fouled back. We'll have to throw at least one more here in the second. I got hitterish on Lockett.
Oh, I like that last swing. Starting to time up that fastball. Pretty sure he's going to get another one here. Pitching coach Rick Kranitz is diving into this outing of Aaron Nola.
Another 3-2 to Lockett. He takes inside, ball 4. Walker Lockett draws a 2-out walk, and the bases are going to be loaded for Manuel Margot. Time for some pitching coach cardio. I said earlier, pitching coaches want you around 16 pitches per inning. What I probably should have said, that's about the average. They'd like it to be beneath that. And obviously 45 pitches in 2 innings, and having just issued a walk to the opposing pitcher to load the bases, not where Aaron Nola wants to be. Padres down by 2 in the second.
Almost a 2-0 approach for Manuel Margot. Still hunt your pitch and be aggressive.
Margot grounded back to Nola his first time, and he grounds this one over to third base. Handled nicely by Franco. They get him, and the inning is over. Padres leave the bases loaded here in the second, but they're making Aaron Nola work. With Mark Sweeney and Annie Halbrin, I'm Jesse Agler. Talking about defense tonight. An awful lot about defense. And to me, no offense, Mark Sweeney, Mr. Outfielder, Mr. First Baseman, the most fascinating defensive position by far on the diamond is the catcher position.
No question about it. I think the most important position, too, because he handles all of it and is able to see everything out on the diamond.
Down in the Padre dugout, Padre catcher A.J. Ellis going to join us for a few moments here. A.J., really do appreciate it. And let me ask you, what's the #1 most important part of defense for a catcher? So many different things go into it, obviously. Handling the pitchers, the actual physical aspect of it. What's #1, top of the list?
I mean, I think it's just your presence behind the plate. I mean, before you even get into the nuts and bolts and mechanics of defense, it's your presence, it's your body language, the way you lead from behind. You're the only person on the field that every single person is looking at on every pitch. You know, the right fielder can hide out there. You know, even the third baseman can hide out a little bit. But the catcher, everybody's looking in at him and how he sets the tone with his body language and the way he approaches each batter in each situation of the game can prove dividends to his team.
AJ, you know what? The catching position fascinates me. And we're looking at Austin Hedges now in your body of work. It really starts in spring training with all of these pitchers. Now you're starting to see some younger pitchers come up, but it takes time to build that trust, especially in a new organization like you took on.
Yeah, and then this is the fun part. I mean, we did it a little bit in spring training, but right now with where the Padres are at and where the Padres are headed, seeing these guys come up, you know, you saw Nix last night. You see Walker out there today. You know, BK, you know, made his debut the other day in Milwaukee. This is fun, you know, getting to work with these guys and help them kind of get their footing in the big leagues and get off to a good start in their career. So Austin and I are taking a lot of pride in it and having a lot of fun with it as well, with more conversations than you would maybe with a more veteran starter. But these young guys, as they get things going, it's fun for us.
I was going to say, handling a veteran pitching staff and a young pitching staff, it's got to be almost like a completely different process.
Yeah, you know, those veteran guys, they get on autopilot. They've built their routines, they built their consistency. They know what works for them. You know what kind of program they need to be on to be ready to pitch every 5th day. And these young guys it's a transition. You know, you come in even to the big leagues, even if you've been on a 5-man rotation in the minor leagues, things are a little bit different. The stresses are a little bit more. 5 innings in the big leagues feels a lot different than 5 innings in the minor leagues, and kind of helping guys navigate their ways, not just through their start, but through their week as well.
AJ, it's so easy to focus on the starter and also the starter and the catcher relationship, but there's a lot of conversations, especially as a backup catcher, you have in between starts. Tell us how that works for you.
Yeah, I mean, it starts all the time, and it starts right after a game sometimes, where you catch a guy on the bench when he comes out of the game. You know, if they're willing to talk at that moment, you do that. But even the next day, you know, Brett Kennedy actually pulled me aside yesterday, and we sat and went over his entire Milwaukee start, pitch by pitch, and talked about it, and talked about sequences and the way he broke things down, and what were well-executed pitches and what were mistakes, and what he can do to improve for next time. But it's constantly throughout the day, and it's organic how it happens. It happens in the weight room, it happens in the video room, just passing by. It happens out during batting practice. And those conversations just kind of flow naturally as guys are just speaking baseball throughout the day.
That's pretty fascinating. How about in-game when you're catching a guy, young or otherwise? How much are you guys talking in between innings throughout the night, kind of working on stuff that you're seeing in real time?
Yeah, I think it just matters how the flow of the game is going. If there's conversations that need to be had, we can talk about things, adjustments that need to be made. And then there's other times where guys are on a roll and have a good rhythm going. You kind of just let them be and kind of let things stay on the status quo of how they're feeling and the rhythm that they have going at that time.
Hoskins battling with Walker Lockett here, 1 out in the top of the 3rd.
AJ, I know you always like talking about everybody else, but the priority as a backup catcher is to get yourself ready. You take a lot of pride in that. Some of the things that you've learned as you've gone along, your career's gone along, of getting yourself ready.
Well, I had probably one of the best mentors for this role early in my career in Brad Osmus, and kind of the way that he approached it. The way he dedicated time in the weight room, the way I saw him dedicate time in the video room, catching bullpens in between starts even, to stay sharp and to stay fresh. And then I think we already touched on those constant conversations throughout the game. You know, there's so much on Austin's plate as a starting catcher, and for me, I kind of equate myself to kind of being the caddy for him. Anything I can do to help him out, kind of lighten his load a little bit as he goes about his process of, you know, trying to become that, you know, that elite 130 to 135 game catcher. That we all believe he can be. It's my job as the backup to kind of pick up the pieces, and kind of the way I watched Brad Osmus do all those years ago with the Dodgers.
Hoskins hits it on the ground, left side, chance for Villanueva. He handles that defensive chance perfectly, 2 away.
Yeah, I think it's really important for I know you guys know it. I know everybody in our dugout knows. But for Padre fans out there watching the game to understand what an elite weapon we have as a defensive catcher in Austin Hedges. And of all my time in baseball, he is on the field. It's evident what the camera sees, what his work behind the plate, the way he receives, the way he blocks, the way he throws, his preparations, but it's behind the scenes as well. The Padre fans should know how spoiled they are to have somebody like him behind the plate. I've been around now a little bit in the league and seen a lot of different catchers, a lot of different young catchers, but he's the real deal. And he's going to play and catch as long as he wants in the big leagues, because he knows what his most important job is every time he's in the ballpark, and that's to put down the right fingers, block the ball up, and care about his pitcher more than he cares about himself, and do everything he can to win a game.
AJ, that's high praise coming from you, because you have that same reputation in the game as well of earning that. But leadership quality for Austin Hedges, and describe that if you could.
He's just got that presence about him. He's got that quiet confidence everybody sees when he walks around the room, and when he does speak, you know, people listen, and he chooses those times wisely. He chooses his words wisely. But you know, I have the privilege of sitting in those pregame meetings. You know, it's even when I'm not playing, Darren Balsley and Austin have allowed me to sit in those meetings, and he takes charge and he directs the starting pitcher and lets him know exactly what the plan is. You know, how to attack a hitter. He breaks down a hitter so well, and so he gives the pitcher just a very clear and concise plan, without there being too much overload for how we're going to attack each day.
Being very modest, Austin has told me how much he appreciates you in those meetings and how much you add to them as well. Nick Williams, an RBI triple his first time. Now a full count here from Lockett. If we have time and the inning doesn't end immediately here, I do want to ask you something. I feel like we spend a lot of time these days talking about, you know, with runners on base and looking into the catcher. Has that changed over the course of your big league career, the way teams try and handle that whole situation?
Well, no, you constantly got to be aware of the runner at second base, especially. Guys are always looking to gain an advantage, and there's a couple teams in our division that are elite at it. And so, you know, something we've made a priority for us this season is finding ways to you know, combat that with our signs and the way that we move behind the plate. We set up maybe a little bit later than we generally would, but a lot of that credit goes to our pitching staff too for you know, being flexible and understanding that we're going to be changing signs on the fly constantly. So we've done a nice job this year of trying to you know, make things not be predictable behind the plate and have the ability to change our signs constantly throughout every inning, so the runner on second base can't get a great read as far as what we're doing back there and when we're putting it on the fingers.
I find that aspect of baseball to be fascinating. Did you always want to be a catcher when you were a kid?
You know, I was a pitcher and I was a first baseman for a long time growing up, and then I got put on a summer team. I was not. I knew I couldn't play anywhere else but catcher, so my team was pretty talented in first base and the pitching department. So they asked if anybody wanted to catch. I raised my hand because I really just wanted to play, and I fell in love with the position. If I wasn't going to be on the mound holding the ball on every pitch, I realized my ceiling came at probably age 15 or 16 as far as being on the mound can go. I wanted to be a part of every play and trying to make an impact on every pitch I could. And when I got behind the plate, I really fell in love with the strategy of the game, the X's and O's of the game, the preparation of the game, and I love that 2-on-1 battle of myself and a pitcher. You know, really trying to attack a hitter, and you know, the camaraderie you feel in those moments where the two of you are really putting your minds together, being on the same page, and doing the you know, making the right choices to get a guy out.
Sorry, AJ, you have the Players Weekend coming up, and on the back of your jersey you have a nickname, and you have the ability of a nickname. You have Dad. You chose Dad. What's
actually, the Dad nickname, one of the creators of that is actually a new Philly, Justin Bohr. So I got that last year in Miami. Yeah, I wore it well. They kind of treated me as kind of like the team dad with the way that I don't know, went around. I didn't get around checking curfews. I wasn't making sure everybody brushed their teeth at night before bed or anything like that. But you know, I just you know, just kind of want to be there for everybody. Kind of be that guy that everybody can look up to and be there to talk about anything that's going on or off the field. So you know, it kind of started off as a fun team joke, but something that I think I took a lot of pride in, actually. You know, because then also you think about your own dad. You think about the impact he's made on my life, my father, and you know, and then you think about the fact that I'm a dad myself. So it's kind of threefold the way it kind of plays out, and it helps me remember you know, my job to kind of be there for these guys here, and the impact my dad made, and also you know, the impact of being a dad to my kids.
Nice defensive play, fittingly by Eric Hosmer to end the inning. AJ, really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Hey, great being with you guys. Have a good night.
Ball brought to you by T-Mobile on defense night. We go to Atlanta. How about Ryan Braun laying out in left field? Brewer, outfielder, not necessarily known for his glove over the course of his career. That's a heck of a diving catch.
He's played third base, he's played first base, right field, and left field. Ryan Braun known for his offense, but a spectacular grab.
Brewers have a 4-2 lead in the 9th inning in Atlanta. That is a game very relevant, certainly, to these Philadelphia Phillies, who come into today tied with the Braves, first place in the National League East. And of course the Padres just left Milwaukee, and boy, they left the Brewers in their dust a little bit, taking 2 out of 3 at Miller Park. The big Renfroe grand slam against Corey Knebel, who by the way has been demoted in that Brewer bullpen, and they're going to go bullpen by committee right now. They got like 2, 3, maybe 4 guys they're going to use in certain situations. That is not a great place to be, I don't think, right now if you're Craig Counsell.
Now, Craig Counsell is wondering who's going to step up in a big time, because this is when you're scoreboard watching, but also you got to play consistent baseball.
Eric Hosmer leading off here, and he strikes out against Nola, only the 2nd of the night for the Philadelphia right-hander. On defense night, how about this? Our Valley View Casino trivia question. Name the first Padre to win a Gold Glove award. We saw Tony Gwynn as the most, but who was the first? It's a great question. I'm thinking. Are you thinking?
Yeah.
Good curveball to start off Hunter Renfroe, 0-1. That's good. Had the home run streak come to an end yesterday, but 4 straight isn't bad. Second Padre to do that this year. Will Myers did it at the beginning of July. Aaron Nola has not been at his best or his sharpest in the first couple of innings here tonight, but he has still held the Padres off the board. Hung that one, and Hunter bangs it down the left field line and into the corner. Renfroe looking for extra bases. Hoskins' throw comes in, not in time. A double for Hunter Renfroe.
I tell you what, that hit and run set him up for this at bat. Why I say that, because he tracked the ball the last time, that line drive to right field. This is a high breaking ball. Watch him work his hands inside this baseball, keeping it fair, leaning back on that ball. Ball's hit extremely hard to left field.
So 2 for 2. Also good. There's a theme here. Padres have been swinging the bats well, going back to Chicago, Milwaukee. Facing a tough starting pitcher here tonight. Really appreciate A.J. Ellis taking some time to visit with us last inning. He said a lot of stuff. I could talk to catchers for hours. I think their perspective on the game is so fascinating. The one that jumped off to me, though, was Brett Kennedy after that rough debut the other day in Milwaukee when he gave up the back-to-back homers in the first inning, pulling A.J. aside after the fact and asking, hey, can we go over this start, and diving into pitch sequences and really going pitch by pitch with him over what took place. I mean, what a great resource.
Yeah, that to me is creating a culture. And obviously you're focused on Austin Hedges because he's the priority now, but A.J. Ellis is a huge element in that equation.
That dad nickname too. You know you're 38 years old in the big leagues when.
I think A.J. Ellis has been able to reflect on a very successful career, but he embraces this role, and arguably could be one of his best years off the bench, and playing in that spare time role, and I think that's what he has flourished on. Offensively, he's contributed. Think about maturing in the game. I think he has a lot to do with Austin Hedges.
Reyes grounded into a double play his first time. This time it's only 1 out, but the middle out here in the 3rd as Renfroe stays at second base, 2 away with Austin Hedges coming up. A.J. Ellis said something earlier this year. It was really, I thought, well put. Kevin Acey wrote a story about him in the Union Tribune, and Ellis said there's so many smart people in this clubhouse. He said you'd be a fool not to use them. And he's talking about just kind of learning as much as he can, even as a 38-year-old, even as a guy who's been around the block as many times as he has. Just always trying to get better.
Yeah, AJ's always been that guy. I was around him in the Dodger organization when he was first coming up, and he had to be that backup. And it's one of those things that he made himself into that everyday guy for a short window of time for him. But that was when Clayton Kershaw was his guy, and that's the reason why he's flourished in that role of being the leader and going out there and being able to have those conversations. It's imperative to have those conversations in between starts.
Circle of life stuff too, kind of learning from Brad Ausmus and now Austin Hedges, learning from AJ Ellis.
And credit Brad Ausmus for being being that everyday guy and lending that information. Because this day and age just you can't just assume that older guys are going to lend that information. Sometimes they're very private about how they went about it. It's not always an open conversation.
That's one of those things we talk a lot about, a guy being brought in because of what he does in the clubhouse. And I know that can be kind of ambiguous sounding to a lot of fans. I hope that conversation with AJ explained it a little bit and you get a sense of what he brings to this club. Hedges pops up. That's the third inning. Still 2-0 Phils.
A place for shifting. I've always been an advocate of it and a proponent of doing whatever it takes to gain a competitive advantage. But some of that has been drawn back right now in our organization, and some of it still works very effectively to save us runs.
Andy Green talking about shifting, which has literally changed the way that baseball looks these last couple of years. Tony Gwynn Jr. joins us for a couple of innings now. And how would you guys have liked to hit against the number of shifts that we see these days?
I hate to say it, but I would have loved it, honestly.
Yeah.
And you can't be stubborn about it. And I think there's a lot of hitters that are stubborn, and you have to work at your craft. I'm sitting next to a guy that saw his dad really exploit a defense and being able to even move and have a shortstop move over.
Yeah.
You know, when Tony and the shortstop shifted over to the 5.5 hole, he shot it up the middle or shot the gap. It wasn't, that guy. So, listen. It wasn't going to be easy for me. Nothing was easy for me, but I think it's one of those things that you're exploiting it. It's a credit to a hitter when they don't shift against you this day and age. How about you, Tony?
I totally agree. I mean, you really said it as well as you possibly could. I think, and I don't want to be the guy that is really down on what we're seeing in today's game, but it seems like guys are taking the easy way out as it pertains to this shift. And when you got a team is generally shifting you in an area because that's where you hit the ball. So you have to kind of work on doing something a little bit different. And I think that's uncomfortable for a lot of guys. And typically when they're uncomfortable, they don't usually want to work on that particular
shift needed.
thing.
Sorry about that. On a strikeout, you make a very interesting point. You see shifts. I mean, the number that have been used has gone up and up and up for the most part after down a little bit, I guess, last year. But your point about guys taking the easy way out is, I think when teams started to shift, everybody said, all right, guys will have to learn to hit the other way. And instead, they've all just tried to hit it over the shift. And that's our air ball revolution that we always talk about in baseball today. And that is easier, I'm sure, than hitting it the other direction. Is just trying to hit it more up.
I think it's always, it's nice to have this conversation, because when you start thinking about the game in the shifts, the Atlanta Braves did it, but they did it in a modified way. They didn't overshift. They just shifted their infielders. But that was also with Smoltz, Maddox, and Glavine. These are guys that are control guys that had stuff. But nowadays, it's all about velocity and upper 90s. You're lacking in location of those pitches, but they're also elevated. So I think the shifting really, to me, it prioritizes in the outfield rather than the infield for me. And I think it's going to probably be modified a little bit from organizations. And there's some that really have a lot and do a lot more shifting than others. But I think that's one of those things that really troubles me, because the command definitely isn't there like it used to with certain guys in the rotation.
And that's the thing, is there's so many variables to the shifting. I mean, what kind of pitching staff do you have? What kind of defenders do you have? And I think it's already starting to kind of change already. You look at the Cubs, one of the heavily shifting teams last year. Fast forward to this year, they're one of the least shifting teams. And I would say that has more to do with, because I believe a shift is actually counted if you have three defenders on one side, correct? So that doesn't mean that the Cubs aren't shifting more or shifting less. That just means they're not actually moving three guys onto one side. You can move infielders over shortstop, third base. You can move them in different spots. It's still a shift. It's just not counted as a shift if they don't have the guys past second base.
Personnel, a big part of it as well. And with the Cubs example in particular, like you said, you got a guy like Baez and another guy like Russell. Both of them can pretty much cover half an infield on their own.
Right.
You don't have to be as extreme about it. Also, I'm sure, you got to look at it more precisely. Who's on the mound, to Sweeney's point? Who's at the plate? I agree, though, what you said about outfield shifts, Mark. I think that's kind of the next frontier. And we've seen the Padres do it aggressively against a couple of guys. DJ LeMahieu of the Rockies pops to mind. Well, he's a right-handed hitter, and when he's up, the Padre outfield swings all the way over to the right. And you'd have the right fielder almost at the line. No shift can help with this. It's a home run. Maikel Franco with his 19th of the year, and that thing got out of here in a hurry. First hit that Lockett allowed since the RBI double by Cabrera back in the first inning, but the Phillies add on. Now 3-0 here in the fourth.
Newly acquired Justin Bohr likes that swing.
Yeah,
especially when he's on his team now, moving over from the Marlins. Maikel Franco took this ball and he was looking inside. He beat this pitch to the spot, barrels it up to left field, and this got out in a hurry. Very impressive swing by the third baseman.
Jesse, you were talking about the outfield shifts before Maikel Franco hit that home run. It's a little bit riskier in the outfield because obviously it's the last line of defense. So if you miscalculate on a shift in the outfield, it's going to result in extra bases. Whereas if you miss on an infield, a lot of times it just results in a single. So I think that's why you're going to see it develop slowly in the outfield as far as these shifts, if it even gets to the point that it has gotten with the infielders.
Very interesting as we talk about defense, and it really has changed tremendously the last couple of years. There was also, I think, a period of time, I don't know, I'm thinking early Moneyball years, mid-2000s, where for a period there was the analytic community was almost anti-defense. They said, it doesn't matter. But they kept at it, and they finally found some ways to understand it a little bit better, quantify it, measure it a little bit better, and that goes back to what we discussed earlier with defensive runs saved. There's a lot of different defensive metrics now that teams look at, some of which they calculate on their own. But that's not an easy thing to look at, because it's not just a hit and an at-bat the way it is, for a hitter. I mean, there are so many variables, beginning really with where a guy is positioned.
Yeah, I think defensively, as reluctant as teams have been with using analytics, I actually think personally it benefits the defensive side a whole lot more than it does the offensive side.
I have to agree with that.
There's so much more data that you're given on any given day from a defensive standpoint that it's just too hard, and there's too many variables offensively as a hitter that make it more complicated, I think, offensively.
Lockett trying to get the number 8 hitter here to end the top of the 4th inning and open up the 5th with the pitcher Nola.
I'm interested to see, you know, you brought up the point earlier, Jesse, about, or I think it was actually you, Mark, about high velocity in the shifts. I wonder how much more effective the shifts would be if we had more control pitchers in the game using these shifts.
Alfaro flies out to Margot. Phillies get another on Walker Lockett.
The good part about Marvin Scale was he made everything look so easy, and people have like no idea like how hard it's make those plays, and he make it look like really easy. So that's why I really like him. The way he play on the infield, he was so smooth, and I always was watching videos from him, and then go to the field and try to do the same thing he do.
Freddie Galvis looking up to a fellow Venezuelan, Omar Vizquel, an 11-time Gold Glove winner. Obviously remembered, I think, most for his time with the Cleveland Indians. What a great picture of a young Freddie Galvis. Where are the braids?
Pre-dreadlock time.
I'll tell you something about Omar Vizquel that I marveled at, and playing with him up in San Francisco uniform. And this was later in his career. He had the eternal clock that you'll hear about. At the shortstop position, he knew exactly the speed of the runners, the situation, and he had a certain calmness. I think Freddie tries to emulate, and we can see him end up doing that. But Omar Vizquel and Ozzie Smith, to me, was 1 and 1A when it came down to how they played the shortstop position.
When we spoke earlier of the Ken Caminetti play in Florida, from the seat of his pants over at third base, I said one of the most iconic defensive plays in history. You talk 1A and 1. The other one might be the Ozzie Smith play.
A little rock ball.
Yeah, up the middle. Absolutely incredible. So, okay, Freddie Galvis looked up to Omar Vizquel. Who did you guys look up to defensively?
To me, it was Fred Lynn. I'm from Boston. I grew up as an outfielder, loved watching Fred Lynn play. Rookie of the Year and MVP. He had the total package, but I always remember him being able to bounce himself off the green monster in the wall in left center field. Get up, put his hat back on, and play the game. That's what I absolutely loved. And San Diego resident, still to this day, my hero.
Mine would be early, it was Ken Griffey Jr., and then later it was Andrew Jones. Both very similar in how they patrolled center field. They both had unbelievable body control, which is something that doesn't get talked about in the outfield. That eternal clock, knowing when you hit the warning track, knowing when you're coming close to the wall. Those guys, I don't know that they look back at the wall very much. It's almost like they just knew it. They knew how many steps it took. But especially Andrew Jones, I always just admired him because I would watch him, even at the time when I got to the big leagues, he would be moving on balls that weren't in play. Like he just had this ability to know where the ball was going to go at all times.
Galvis in the air the other way. That's Rhys Hoskins. And that's one away in the bottom of the 4th inning. The Wizard, Ozzie Smith. Unbelievable. Ball hits the pebble, and he reaches back with the bare hand to make the play. Highlight after highlight after highlight for the Wizard of Oz.
Tell you what, for Ozzie Smith, and I'll tell you this, my first year in the big leagues was when he was going through injuries. He came back, and you know, you have your college buddies that want to come out and watch you, so they come into town, and I introduced him to Ozzie Smith. He said, "Hey, is that your buddy?" He goes, "Yeah, it's my buddy." And he goes, "Tell him to watch. I'll put on a show for him during batting practice." And it wasn't about hitting. He would end up fielding a ground ball from shortstop and throw it without looking, and hit me in the chest every single time.
That is a true story. I've seen it with my own eyes. Oh, him having a full conversation with somebody at shortstop while he's taking balls and not looking where he's throwing. I mean, it's just like me and you sitting here talking, Jesse. I'm fielding balls, talking to you, looking at you, and throwing it to first base.
Well, I haven't had the opportunity to see it in person, but I did see it on This Week in Baseball when I was a kid. The exact thing you're talking about. Villanueva hit it hard, but right at Hoskins, 2 down. And yeah, his whole point was, as a shortstop, you always got to know exactly where you are relative to first base.
Yes, and what he would do, and he would shift from those throws to first base. Obviously, you got to turn 2, right? Well, he would end up bouncing them off the ground. And it was a showmanship, and he had that ability to put on a show, but he understood what he was trying to do and always tried to create that excitement that people were watching. It wasn't about the flips. It wasn't about the plays. He wanted to do it in style, and that was in vogue in the game of baseball.
Good curveball to Spangenberg. Let's take a look at StatCast AI, powered by AWS.
There it is. Big spot.
He hits it towards the blue circle. This time he hits it off the glove of Nola, and not in time at first base. Nice effort by Michael Franco. But Spangenberg reaches a 2-out single. That'll get the pitcher spot to the plate here in the bottom of the 4th.
See this ball doesn't hit it well, but get some luck there. Ball comes off of Nola's glove. Franco, who has a great arm, comes up with it, but Spangenberg just gets down the line way too well to be able to retire him. You know, we're talking about these shifts and bring up a guy like Ozzie Smith. I wonder now, from a defensive standpoint, where are the most important positions now? Because with the shift being used so much, are you still building teams up the middle with catcher, shortstop, second base, center field? Now, the outfield, I think, remains the same because we talked about it. The shifts haven't quite hit the outfield the way they have the infield. But I would assume that with shifts being used so much, there's a little bit less emphasis put on the defensive side of shortstop, I would think.
To your point, we talked about it with Austin Hedges, the pop time that you hear from the catcher's position. The stolen base is not in the game as much as it used to. I mean, if Ricky Henderson is here, I want to see that challenge.
Right.
I want to see Austin Hedges against Ricky Henderson getting a good jump. That's when you start thinking about the pop time. So yes, I do, to your point, it's going to change a little bit, even though you want athletes out there. You want defenders to be able to limit those extra pitches that a lot of these pitchers are throwing because of those defensive lapses.
Remember, too, with shifts, it's a numbers game. You're playing odds, basically. And so even if you have a great rangy guy in your shifting, it still ups your chances of him being able to make a play on a ball that, is hit away from the shift. But you're right, range maybe isn't valued the way it once was because of all the changes. Good looking curveball to Lockett ends the 4th inning. 3-0 Phillies. More defense when we come back.
First step, you really want to open the hips up, get a nice at least 45-degree angle going to the wall so you can cut it down. For me, the biggest thing about a ball over your head is you don't want to get beat by it. So if you have to banana route around it and come back in and move forward, that's better than, you know, not getting your hips open enough and you're at about a 25-degree angle.
And it's the L
and
route.
Then you got to take the L route, and you're in big trouble there.
Very interesting. Travis Jankowski, Mike Pomerantz out in the outfield here at Petco Park talking about how to take the most efficient route possible to a fly ball.
Yeah, and what you heard Travis really giving Mike there was some good information. I think 45-degree angle for an outfielder, especially on the corners, because that's when footwork becomes extremely important. You have less time to react to the baseball. You heard Freddie talking about opening up to a 45-degree angle. That's important. I always tried to open up as wide as I could. That way, if I misjudged it, I could work my way back in, as you heard Travis talking about.
Now, how many challenges? You predominantly played center field, but you got to the corners as well. How challenging was that for you on the corners, just reading the ball off the bat?
It was real tough in left field because that was the first corner position that I started playing. I played some right in college a little bit and in high school, so I was a little bit used to, stood out there a little bit with my dad. Left field was a whole new territory for me, and that was the thing that I had to focus on the most was my footwork. That initial first step, you don't have the room to make an error with your footwork in left or right because the ball's on you, and it's usually moving in a certain direction. Whereas in center field, although you have to be probably the better athlete in center, there's a little bit more room for error because you get a better look at the baseball.
How much of a look, as you saw Margot kind of staring in there, can you get at the catcher's signs in center field certain situations?
It's tough. A lot of times what I did as a center fielder was I watched my infielders. Usually they're the ones dictating. Sometimes you get an infielder that I actually give you the signs in the outfield.
That one's hit well out to deep right, and that one is going to go. Second home run in as many innings for the Phils. This one belongs to Cesar Hernandez, his 10th of the year. Franco with a solo shot in the fourth, now Hernandez in the fifth. 4-0 Philadelphia.
Now 2-0 count, and you can see the location of the pitch, elevated just enough. And a sweet swing. Looking for that mistake pitch is Hernandez. Right down the middle of the plate, middle away. That's that comfort zone to these hitters.
Phil's got a couple in the first inning and now have added 2 more on the homers in the fourth and the fifth. Hoskins still trying to get it going at the plate, slumping, but dangerous. As you mentioned, sometimes, Tony, you get a sign from an infielder.
Yes. So, you know, like Freddie, as he sets up, he gets the sign from Hedges. He'll just stick his hand behind his back and give you a closed fist for a straight fastball, open hand for something off speed.
And also you're looking for location, so you see the catcher set up. That will indicate maybe that cheat step, maybe taking an extra step over.
You also have to know your hitters, because even though a catcher might set up away, you know if this guy's a dead pull hitter, he's not going to pay too much attention to that ball being away. He's going to do his best to get around it. That's why you got to know your hitters.
Hoskins lines one into left field. That's a base hit. 1-out single against Walker Lockett. Time now for Tools of the Trade, brought to you by Ram Trucks. Travis Jankowski earlier this year in San Francisco. Guys, one of the best catches we've seen all year.
Yeah, one of the toughest outfields to play, and why I'll tell you that is that it's the outfield wall. It's also some areas that you have to be careful of. And you're not typically warm playing in San Francisco, especially on a night game. So Travis Jankowski, a normal center fielder, playing the corners very well.
Don't forget the swirl, too. And now, once that ball gets over the stadium in San Francisco, the ball tends to swirl.
It's going to be the end of the night for Walker Lockett in his third major league start. Home runs each of the last couple of innings. Now a single to Rhys Hoskins. Robert Stock, hard-throwing right-hander, coming in from the bullpen. 4 1/3. Phillies with a 4-0 lead here in the top of the 5th inning. Rhys Hoskins snaps an 0 for 22 with a base hit. That chases Lockett from the game. And time for the Kia drive to success. A lot of talk about defense tonight, and obviously a lot of talk about Freddie Galvis. Good old-fashioned fielding percentage this year. Shortstops in all of baseball. Only Didi Gregorius and Nick Ahmed points ahead of Galvis in all of baseball.
Yeah, some of those surprises. Trevor Story also on that list. I don't think Didi Gregorius for the New York Yankees gets enough credit.
No, I agree.
Yes, indeed.
I like that.
I like that.
It's not mine. That's a liner through and a base hit. Nick Williams with his second hit. On his way to third base, Hoskins. He'll get there without a play. And the Phillies looking for more. Have runners on the corners in the top of the 5th.
Nick Williams is getting comfortable in the big leagues. Consistently putting some good at bats. Middle of the order for Gabe Kapler. Seeing that mistake in off the plate. And drilling that to center field.
Let's see, so here's one of the negative things that can happen when you actually do shift an outfielder. That ball's hit right up the middle. Rhys Hoskins, I think, initially assumed Margot was playing straight away. Kind of got off to a slow start, realized Margot was actually moving to what now is a gap, is able to go first and third. And he's in a much easier scoring position.
Santana now, who has twice grounded out Eric Hosmer over at first base, and Stock with that breaking ball that we're seeing more and more of gets strike one.
Yeah, and Robert Stock has improved his secondary stuff, especially the slider. We saw the changeup right there. And now he's starting to rack up those strikeouts and limits the walks. Only 2 walks on the season.
Santana wraps that one on the ground, but fouled at first base.
Here's a look at that shift from that single. See where Margot's playing. This should be basically a routine ground ball up the middle that you're able to keep the guy from going first to third, but because Margot has to go so far to his left, Hoskins knows he's not going to be able to get anything on a throw. He trots to third easy.
Nice stop by Hedges there. Keeps everybody where they are. A ball and 2 strikes from Stock, and obviously Andy Green going to the bullpen here in the 5th inning. He's looking for some length out of Robert Stock, who's gone 2 or more innings and 4 of his last 6 appearances.
I really like what you've seen from Stock. As you said, Swain, his secondary pitches have improved a lot since spring training.
Santana hits that one to Galvis. Gotta hurry. Freddie for 1. Spangenberg not in time. Beautifully done, but the run comes home to score. 5-0 Phillies here in the 5th, and you know, just more of the same from Freddie Galvis.
Yeah, Freddie Galvis understands that he has to do at all costs what's going to happen for a double play here. The glove work and trying to get that ball early to Corey Spangenberg. Absolutely love it, because if he barehands that, it just adds on time. It's the only chance they were going to get out of the inning without another run.
Santana moves a lot better than you probably think he does just by looking at him. Galvis knew that, and now Cabrera goes after the 99-mile-per-hour fastball. Talk about defense. This guy, back in 2008, turned an unassisted triple play as a member of the Indians. That's got to be one of those things that has to work out perfectly in terms of the situation. Runners are going, line drive right at you, bad base running, all of it. And it did against the Blue Jays.
Yeah, that's usually the only way an unassisted triple play is going to happen in our game.
It was the 14th in Major League history.
Imagine the guy that hit it.
Oh. Hard hit liner, by the way.
I'm staring at the ceiling all night long if I'm hitting into that.
Cabrera an RBI double his first time up. Struck out against Lockett last time. Slider backs up on Stock. Now 3-1. Phillies obviously going for it. Could have known that, I guess, when they acquired Santana in the offseason, when they signed him, when they brought in Jake Arrieta, but they've added here in the summer months. Cabrera, one of those names. He comes through with his second hit of the night. 2 on and 2 out for the Phils here in the 5th. And time now to answer our Valley View Casino trivia question. This was a doozy. The first Padre to win a Gold Glove. I told you Tony Gwynn won more than any other Padre, but who won the first? Hall of Famer Dave Winfield, 1979.
I guessed wrong.
What was your guess?
Ozzie Smith.
It would have been a good guess.
I went on a limb there, you know.
Yeah, really.
You thought a guy that
had like 15 of them?
struggled a little bit.
13.
13, sorry.
No. Ozzie won his first in 1980 as a Padre. So the year after.
That was a year early, yeah.
That's a good guess. Quality.
Jesse, who was your favorite defender?
Gary Carter. I was a catcher. Gary Carter.
I knew you were going to say either Gary Carter or Keith Hernandez. It was going to be one of the two.
I never played first base. Right-handed. Gary Carter. Just watching, even as a kid, you sort of start to absorb the way he received the baseball, the personality, you know, that psychology aspect of being a catcher. You're almost part coach.
Yeah, much like A.J. Ellis talked about, you know, having that presence. I think Gary Carter had that. Commanded his pitchers to know he was together, and that was the priority all night long. Plus, he had the no-flap helmet.
The no-flap helmet.
Love that.
What's with the Garys wearing the no-flap helmets? Gary Gaetti also had the no-flap helmet.
I think he was the last one.
He was.
Gone from no flaps to C flaps all over the place. Those cheek protectors you see so many guys wearing now. Might have been a broken bat. Definitely a nice play by Spangenberg, and the inning is over. Phillies get a couple here in the top of the 5th inning. A homer by Hernandez, and 5-0. Padres baseball brought to you by Petco, the pet company, by your San Diego Mazda dealers, and by Jerome's Furniture, where Jerry's price is the lowest price every day. Talking defense on a baseball night in San Diego. Some of the top plays made this year in the outfield, on the infield. Christian Villanueva has gotten better and better and better as the year has gone on at the hot corner. And top of the order here in the bottom of the 5th inning, 5-0 Philadelphia, as Aaron Nola goes back to work. He has not been overpowering, but he's worked himself out of a couple of jams and done just enough. Talking all about defense tonight, and Sweens, you mentioned Fred Lynn and playing with the monster there. How much time as outfielders did you guys put into rolling into a new ballpark, maybe first game of a series, and just kind of checking out, you know, all the different quirks?
That was one of the first things I ever learned from my father. Going out early in a new place, or a place that you may not be as familiar with, and get used to the dimensions and different things. In this particular stadium, the one thing that I would have our coaches doing is hitting balls into that corner over there. I want to see how balls are going to kick off of the foul pole that's in play, or the Petco.com sign where it kind of can hit off it and redirect in a different way. I want to know how these different balls are going to play, and it's a big part of it, because no doubt if you don't do it, there will be a ball hit down that line or into one of those places that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, guys, there used to be cookie cutter stadiums. Now that everyone has a certain priority. Think about Pittsburgh with a big wall in right field. San Francisco comes to mind. And when you think of the toughest outfields, one of the toughest was the Colorado Rockies,
yes.
left center, and how you covered that area, because there was so much turf to cover. So the priority became communication. And that leads me to the question that I have for you, Tony, is when you were playing center field, you were the commander out there. How much communication did you have? Was it pitch to pitch, or was it to hitter to hitter?
A lot of times it was pitch to pitch. I mean, a lot, especially through the first time through the order, a lot of times, because you're setting your defense up for how you guys are going to play each individual. And your outfielders usually know, but as a center fielder, you're the captain. You have to remind them of that, of certain ways that we might play. So the first time through the lineup, it was pitch to pitch pretty much. And then after that, you kind of let guys have the freedom to kind of, maybe they see something from their side of the field that's different than what you're seeing from center.
Here at Petco, you've got the shorter fence out in right center field. Margot made the great catch there in the Futures game in 2016. Adam Jones in the World Baseball Classic, same spot last spring. There's definitely some quirkiness to Petco. It's fun. We saw the 4-foot wall in the left field corner. Obviously, that Petco porch in right field. They even took down the height of the wall in left by a foot a couple of years back. More opportunities for outfielders to go up, rob a home run.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people talk about the surface as well. It's always the walls, but you know, the surface in the field, and being able to play on these and being able to run and feel comfortable getting your cleats into the ground.
Such a really good point. I mean, that's why I know for myself and a lot of outfielders, when you knew you were coming to the National League West, you felt pretty good about the surfaces. You knew San Diego was going to be prime. You knew Los Angeles was going to be prime. The one place that I think gave a lot of people issues is Chicago. I mean, recently they've changed their surface to where it looks a lot more like most of the other major league parks. But for a while, they'd have that grass thick. The outfield would have all kinds of different roll-offs from rain, so it wasn't really a flat surface out there. It'd be a lot more difficult. So you knew you had to take a lot of ground balls out there to get used to how the ball was hopping. Colorado is the same way. Thick grass, big outfield. Ball's not necessarily gonna roll straight to you.
Yeah, Matt Balo and his crew, the grounds crew here, do a fabulous job. This is a putting green out there.
Talking about outfield catches over the fence, ranging back. We're talking Steve Finley, of course. One of the absolute best of his generation.
Yeah, magician, and you can see him sacrificing his body into the wall, and he understood the padding and what he could do going into that wall. One of the best center fielders that I've ever seen play. Obviously, Andrew Jones comes to mind in that same era, but Steve Finley saved so many ball games defensively.
Such a good point. Andrew Jones, Steve Finley. A lot of people don't think of them in the same breath defensively. Steve Finley is one of the most underrated defensive center fielders ever in the game of baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah, because not only did he have good glove work, he was a very accurate thrower. People wouldn't run on him, and he positioned himself so well. And when he had some guys that were playing and getting spot starts, he understood where to center himself, where he could cover every gap.
Just a little bit low, and Renfroe aboard safely for the third time in 3 trips. Tony Gwynn, of course, a Gold Glover 5 times over in right field, and one of the best defensive plays he ever made. Big spot, postseason 1998. Sorry, Moises.
Come on, Moises, what you thinking on this one, man?
Great tag, too.
It's one of the biggest throws that I've ever seen in clutch time. Your dad, Tony, absolutely threw a strike, and I love how Kim just laid on him.
I was just getting ready to say it.
But that was huge, because Carl Everett, the one that hit the ball, went into second base and changed the whole inning. That would have been bases loaded. We'd have had to walk the next guy. Who knows what would have happened after that? But what a clutch throw from Pops.
You kind of get to understand. I've told this story on air a few times about and you were there to see it. If I didn't hit him in the chest playing catch, catch was over. If it only lasted one throw, so be it. But it taught me that I needed to be accurate. He was a stickler for that kind of stuff.
Padres have had at least one man on base every single inning against Aaron Nola, but yet to break through. And another ground ball to short for Reyes. That ends the fifth. 5-0 Philadelphia.
With the pitching coach, Darren Balsley and Bachler, showing how they're going to pitch certain guys and where they anticipate them hitting the ball, and then we'll position our guys accordingly. You know, it's difficult at times because pitchers will miss their spot, or you know, the hitter will hit it in a spot where I didn't predict it, and so it doesn't look great on me. Luckily, our outfield's pretty fast with Will and Travis when he's out there, and Manny was out there. They're really fast and they can make up some ground.
Padres first base coach Skip Schumacher, who also works with the outfielders on their defense, discussing the many responsibilities and pieces that go into positioning the outfielders. And one of the things we haven't talked probably enough about is the responsibility on these pitchers, because if they're not putting it where they're supposed to be putting it, well, you've just thrown the whole thing out of whack.
Yeah, that's what you're relying on. Obviously, you have trust in your guys. But if it's a younger pitcher that's doesn't have that command, you might play defensive differently because you might take an extra step back. But there's always some certain areas, and I think Skip Schumacher, the first year as an outfield coach and diving into it, he owns this outfield. He's done a fabulous job, in my opinion, because there's a lot of moving parts, and there's some center fielders like Travis Jankowski. Typically, that's his best position. But he's gone to the corners, and I think he has done a fabulous job with that, and has a lot to do with Skip Schumacher.
Franco homered his last time. Stock, by the way, last inning through the fastest fastball any Padre has thrown this season. Clocked officially at 100.3 miles per hour. Nearly 98 that time.
Well, some of the things, guys, too, when you're not playing every day, and you know this, Tony, you rely on your outfielders, but also the coaching. So in between pitch by pitch, you're going to peek in there because there's an adjustment from every situation. Skip Schumacher is always getting the attention of not only Manny Margot in center field, but the corner outfielders.
Franco chops that one into the ground in between hop for Corey Spangenberg. A couple of nice defensive plays by him in the last little bit. One away here in the sixth.
I've always felt like, as the center fielder, you shouldn't have your outfield coach or whoever's the guy guiding the outfielders. He shouldn't have to ever really come out of the dugout to move anybody. As a center fielder, it's your responsibility to be able to look in at a guy like Skip Schumacher, see what he wants from one of the corners if he needs to move him, and then you move him. That's kind of goes in with being the #1 priority guy out defensively, you also have the responsibility to make sure your other outfielders are in the position they need to be in.
You guys talked about the challenges of Wrigley, especially pre-renovation of Colorado. Was there an outfield you enjoyed the least from a defensive standpoint?
San Francisco and Colorado. Colorado, you knew if you went into the gap for a ball, it was going to take you at least 5 or 6 pitches to actually get back to a place where if there was another one hit, you could get back to that speed again. It was just hard dealing, at least for me, dealing with the altitude coming in. You know, just making the run from the dugout to center field every inning. It takes a lot out of you in Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado to me, and I played in that in uniform for 2 years, and it was Clint Hurdle who was the manager. I played right field a lot, and I'll tell you why, because I didn't have to cover as much area. Right field is the shortest part of that area, so it was by design for Clint Hurdle. I was in there for offense. I wasn't in there to defend, and that's what his priority was. You used to have 2 center fielders out there at Coors Field. That's how much turf you have to cover, and it's very daunting because you pitch by pitch, you'll look over and look at the wall and go, that's 7 or 8 big strides, and that's not a comfortable thing.
It's not.
A lot of acreage in Denver.
That being said, you go to Philadelphia, Citizens Bank Park, it's comfort because you can move in, you can cover that area where that short pop-up or off the end of the bat. There's some areas that, places that you feel more comfortable playing.
The bigger outfields, not counting Colorado, were the ones I felt most comfortable. I knew anything hit over my head, I can turn and run, take my eye off the ball, and still I have plenty of room. Miami's a good place to, as a good example. You knew anything hit over your head, you could just run, find a spot. You'll be able to find it if once you looked up. But the places that were shorter gave me more issues. Those are the ones I knew I had to concentrate more on feeling the ground underneath me when I got to the warning track. Because once you can remove the wall as something that's keeping you there, you can kind of move away from it.
Summary, top of the first inning, Nick Williams hit the plate. Cesar Hernandez comes in to score on what would be an RBI triple, 1-0 Philadelphia. In the fourth, Michael Franco lines one into the Western Meadows Suites. That gave the Phils a 3-0 lead. And then in the fifth inning, another home run. This one to right field by Cesar Hernandez. Phils a 5-0 advantage. As we open up the seventh inning, the sixth inning. Been a long game. Bottom of the sixth.
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, those first 2 innings went really slow.
That's funny because Nola obviously, look, 5 innings, no runs, 4 hits. You go, that's a good night so far. And look, it is. But he has not looked dominating in any way, shape, or form here. Padres have had base traffic each of the first 5 innings because it's the 6th. And another opportunity to try and get to him here, middle of the order against the Philly ace. Tony, we were talking about outfield defense as that last one came to a close. And you said you liked when the fences were shallow.
I actually liked it when the fences were deeper. Shallow gave me more insecurity about the wall. And you see guys even now, when they get close to that wall, you start to see their body kind of bracing for that wall. And I think as an outfielder, once you got to the point where you could remove the wall as something that was going to bother you, you could maximize your ability in the outfield, because now you're playing the outfield without the fear of a wall stopping you.
Yeah, I think if you look at Manuel Margot's body of work, I think that's the adjustment that he needs to be at the wall. And that's something that takes time.
It does.
It's not a comfortable feeling because you never know when that situation was that maybe he ran into a wall in the minor leagues. And it's always in the back of your mind.
So true. It usually takes you running into a wall to figure out whether it's going to be something that's going to continue to bother you, or if you can actually move past it.
You're talking about Philadelphia in the outfield there being a relatively easy place to play, but they got that weird part out in center field with the little almost chain link windows, and I always think about Aaron Rowan, face first.
I don't think Aaron's nose is still recovered from that.
Plastic surgery.
Hedges singled his first time, has extended the hitting streak to 7 consecutive games. He also stole a bag for the 2nd time in as many nights.
Could be worse. He'd be wearing makeup on TV.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain guys doing that nowadays. Pointing at myself and Mark.
You look great.
And Jesse, for that matter.
I never played.
Touche.
Austin strikes out. It's the 4th of the night for Nola.
He's starting to get into a groove, and you can see that 4-seamer that he's working, and he has that arm side run. That'll lock up a lot of hitters, especially those right-handed hitters.
It's that rising fastball you hear hitters talking about.
Nola settled in after the first couple of longer innings, but still has yet to retire. The Padres in order at any point tonight. Galvis 0 for 2 in this game, so he has dropped his season average against the Phillies down to 500. He's only 8 for 16 now against his old team. Nola getting ready to throw his 90th pitch. We mentioned he was the Phillies All-Star this year. How about the 5th inning of the All-Star game in Washington? Strikes out Salvador Perez, and he gets Mookie Betts with a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. Altuve singled, and then he popped up Mike Trout to end the inning. That's a pretty good 4 guys to face in your first All-Star appearance.
I don't think you could have an easy way about yourself with the American League.
No.
Perez, Betts, Altuve, Trout.
Betts is only hitting .351, leading the league by 22 points. Everybody is 22 points or more behind Mookie Betts.
That's unbelievable. Austin Davis, left-hander, heating up as Galvis stays alive.
I mean, those are arguably the 3 best hitters in baseball right there.
Oh, yeah.
3 of the 4. Or you could argue Mike Trout being the best player in baseball. You could argue Mookie Betts being the best player in baseball. And you can certainly argue Altuve is the best hitter in baseball.
No question.
Galvis fighting as always against Nola.
Now, it really hasn't been the philosophy of Nola. He's changed to different looks with the breaking ball and also the changeup. Has a lot to do with his run. And that arm side run has been giving some of these Padre hitters some fits. Not being able to square them up.
This time he gets him on the inside corner. Back-to-back strikeouts for Aaron Nola. 2 away in the bottom of the 6th. Time for the top tier plays brought to you by Arco. Not talking about shortstop defense. You cannot leave out Khalil Green.
Unbelievable shortstop and a two-way player. Unfortunately, his career was shortened, and this was a guy that you came and watched him play. And in 2005, I got a front row seat to watch spectacular defense, and he made those tough plays look very easy. A lot of people don't even talk about Khalil Green as being one of those guys, and if you were a Padre fan or you watched baseball closely, you knew how good he was.
You knew from the moment you saw him field a ground ball at shortstop how good he was defensively. He was that kind of shortstop, and really he's the best shortstop the Padres have had other than Ozzie Smith, I think.
They shifted against Villanueva. They get the ground out, and Nola gets a 1-2-3-6. Now we go to the 7th.
Nothing here in the top of the 7th inning at Petco Park, and you were looking at some of the plays that have made Eric Hosmer a 4-time Gold Glove winner, including those scoops at first base. We talked about John Dewan and Baseball Info Solutions earlier in the game, and he had a stat about Hosmer. Hosmer's been the best in all of baseball for 3 years running in scoops at first base, and Dewan said it's not even close. So we've been able to watch that all season long, and we've also seen how he's made the rest of the infield better. It's something Freddie Galvis has done as well. And Galvis said that as far as Hosmer goes, it makes him a better thrower because he doesn't have to think about where he needs to place his throw. He knows he can just go for it. Hosmer will do the rest. And Sweens, I know you can talk about this, but defense and trust, it seems like an obvious thing, but it's really something that has to grow organically, and it's so, so important. Without it, you really have nothing.
Andy, I totally agree. You think about trust and what a first baseman brings. It has a lot to do with how good and how comfortable those infielders feel about just releasing the baseball. And sometimes they don't have the ability to grab those seams, and they have to get it out of their glove quickly and make that throw and have that trust when it comes down to that first baseman.
I think the thing that Eric Hosmer has perfected so well, and I've never really seen anybody do it with any kind of frequency except for him, is that sort of step into foul territory as he receives the throw from the infielder. It's kind of a different way of stretching, I guess, for a throw that might not be perfectly on target.
Yeah, one of those first basemen that I thought was spectacular at his craft was J.T. Snow for the San Francisco Giants. He reminds me of an Eric Hosmer style of first baseman. And I think another one that comes to mind is Wally Joyner. We all think about what Wally Joyner had, the smoothness of Eric Hosmer with the footwork. And the footwork has a lot to do with playing that position.
How many times have you seen a simple error derail an entire inning? And how many times this year have we seen Eric Hosmer prevent an error with a great scoop or just a great catch over at first base on one of those throws? Top of the order for the Phillies here in the top of the 7th inning. Robert Stock into his second full inning of work, and another strikeout. That's now 3 in a row for the hard-throwing right-hander. So they track these sorts of things, you know, and the most successful scooped throws the last 3 years at first base, Eric Hosmer way out in front of everybody else, and only 9 mishandles. Basically, he does a better job with that than anybody else in baseball, and really not all that close.
Yeah, and comparing it to Anthony Rizzo, where he has 27 mishandles. I mean, that's a lot. Freddie Freeman has a lot to do with the comfort level, has a smoothness about him at first base.
Hoskins snapped an 0 for 22 with a base hit his last time. Stock right in front of him. No balls, 2 strikes. Another long outing here for Robert Stock. It's one of those things. You might be an 8th inning guy, a setup guy, or a closer in the minor leagues. And you get called up to the bigs, and it becomes a very different situation. I think Hoskins wants a new bat. Talking all about Eric Hosmer and how good he is over there. A 4-time Gold Glove Award winner in the American League. He picked up the 2017 trophy earlier this season here at Petco Park. It's a good looking trophy.
Yeah, it's a great looking trophy. And then all of a sudden you have that gold on your glove for the rest of your career.
Or if you're Yadier Molina, on your chest protector.
You get that many gold gloves, you can wear anything you want.
Anything you want. The gold label. Hosmer won the Gold Glove 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2017. Did Hoskins go? He did. And now 4 consecutive strikeouts for Robert Stock.
Now the improved slider, it continues to show up, and also he has that changeup. 3 different thoughts along with the velocity of Robert Stock. You know, I'm not a big memorabilia guy. I'll tell you one cool thing that I'll never, and I still have it at home. Larry Walker, when he got traded to St. Louis, flipped me a glove, and out of his locker he said, "Here you go."
Nick Williams, sorry, been a thorn tonight, fouls it away.
It was a gold glove. He had 3 of them, and it had all his Gold Glove years embroidered on the glove.
Wow.
And I grabbed it, and I was like a little kid in a candy store. I said, "What do you want me to do with this?" He goes, "Have it." So it's one of the cool things, because Larry Walker, to me, was one of the best players, all-around players in the game.
Hunter Renfroe playing in left field does a nice job going back on that one, and Robert Stock a 1-2-3 7th. San Diego presents Padres Baseball, brought to you by Sequan Casino. Opening in 2019, Sequan's brand new 300-room resort and hotel. By Jack in the Box. This season, Padres home runs score free Jumbo Jacks only at Jack in the Box. And by Car Shield. "5-0 Phillies, bottom of the 7th inning. And let's take a look at the Jerome's best seats in the house. Enter to win these seats at any Jerome's location. Now that is a good way to take in a big league ball game. Have Don and Mud done a game from down there yet?
They should.
They absolutely should. Mark a lounger. I could see Mud falling asleep though.
Yeah, he would.
At the 5th inning. Got peanut shells all over his belly. Left-hander Austin Davis to face Corey Spangenberg. Aaron Nola started for the Phils. He went 6 shutout frames, 4 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Padres had opportunities, just couldn't string enough together in order to break through. Now they'll see what they can do against this Philadelphia bullpen. Davis is not exactly a lefty specialist. He has gone multiple innings quite a bit this year for the Phils, but Spangenberg welcomes him with the ball down the line, and that one keeps on rolling all the way to the corner. Corey had 2 in mind. Now he's on his way to third base, and he'll get there without a play. Boy, you had folding chairs and security guards. We were talking about quirky outfields. You got to take the human element into account as well. And by the time Hoskins got to that one, Corey Spangenberg at third base.
Well, you got to love Corey, and this just misses that corner. I think Hoskins thought it was going to hit that corner. He wanted to try to limit Spangenberg to only a single. That hurt him, and it helped the Padres with that triple. Take a look at Corey Spangenberg and how he runs those pillows. That's the speed and a very good start to this inning for the Padres.
Spangenberg's 3rd triple of the year, and as you said, Hoskins did not play it well. So a rude welcome for Austin Davis, and Jose Perella will be the pinch hitter here for Robert Stock, who did yeoman's work in relief of Walker Lockett. So the .254 average for Perella. We did not see him in last night's game. Thursday in Milwaukee, had an RBI single and a double. We've been talking defense all night long and getting into Hosmer and what he's able to provide at first base. You made the move to first from the outfield later in your career. What's the biggest misconception about defense at first base? I feel like it's one of those things everybody says, anybody can play first base, but it's so much more intricate than that, isn't it?
Yeah, I had challenges, and I mean, defensively, it was very difficult to make that change because it's so much quicker in the infield. But I had Sandy Alomar Sr. help me out, and it has a lot to do with the glove work. And he said something interesting at first base. It's a one-handed position, and I always thought that I had to be perfectly correct when I was fielding a ground ball. And until I got that left hand out of the way and made it a one-handed position, that's where it felt comfortable for me. So you never know who's going to unlock that situation. And then, not that he made me a great defender, I had to go over there and catch the ball and make the plays I was supposed to make. And filling in for Wally Joyner, filling in for Todd Helton. You're not in there to play a lot.
You think most guys who adapt to that position at some point, is it the footwork? Is it the glove work? What's the biggest challenge?
I think it's the footwork first, and I think you have to be able to, that softens your hands, but you have to have the ability, that trust factor that Andy was talking about at first base. Catching the baseball.
Works the lead off, the no-out walk, and after the triple by Spangenberg, Padres now with runners on the corners. Decisions for the Philly manager. Victor Arano, the right-hander, appears to be at the ready. And he will be called upon here with 2 on, nobody out, and the top of the order coming up for the Padres. Runners on first and third, nobody out here in the 7th.
For us, man. I felt like it was someone scored or hit a home run, or we got the final out of a game. The way they stood up when I was introduced, and kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And so it was a little bit of a warm day, but it had a little bit of San Diego feel in the weather today.
Tune in to Fox Sports San Diego August 13th following Padres Live, the postgame, for an all-access journey with Trevor Hoffman as he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Spotlight Trevor Hoffman's Hall of Fame induction debuts August 13th after Padres Live.
That's coming up on Monday night here. And then Trevor will be celebrated all 4 games against the Diamondbacks, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here at Petco. What a year. Victor Rano's had quite a year himself. Last 18 outings, a 0.92 ERA, one of the best in baseball in that time. But he inherits a little bit of a sticky situation here. A 5-0 Philly lead, for runners on the corners, nobody out, in the top of the Padre batting order up.
And Arano relies on a lot of his movement on his fastball, also the breaking ball, has a changeup to go along with that. So the Padres have to capitalize in this situation here.
Margot's been great with runners in scoring position. Spangenberg at third and Perella at first. Manuel hits that one well out to left field. Hoskins will circle underneath of it and make the catch. Corey tags, he'll score easily, and the Padres break through here in the 7th.
Just smart hitting by Manuel Margot. See the cutting action on that stays over the middle of the plate. A little bit off the end of the back as V squares this up. That's gone. But just doing his job, and after that leadoff triple by Corey Spangenberg, he scores easily.
Got to figure the Phils will take that, at least for the moment. Now Hosmer, and way outside, ball 1.
Now, to me, this is an at-bat for Eric Hosmer that he has to think about left center, even that left field area, with that movement by Arano.
Has about as many opposite field hits this year as anybody else in baseball.
Typically, Hosmer will, early in the count, will take that shot to pull the baseball. As the count gets deeper, he'll go to left field.
Big piece of pie for Franco on the left side. Nice stop there by the catcher Alfaro. 2 balls and a strike.
Now Alfaro is interesting because we've talked about some of the catching expectations of this young backstop. Well, that's a changeup that he's trying to glove instead of blocking and keeping in front. I think he got lucky in that situation.
Renfroe, another nice night at the plate, waiting on deck. Padres trying to rally against the Philadelphia bullpen here in the 7th. Hosmer out in front, that's foul. And Alfaro, the Philly catcher, Austin Hedges of the Padres, a couple of the elite pop times in 2018 this year. You see some of the good throws he's had. And JT Realmuto of Miami, the quickest this season in all of baseball. Hedges, Alfaro, Yan Gomes, Gary Sanchez, your top 5. That's how quickly they get up out of the crouch and get rid of the baseball on attempted steals of second base. Hedges was number 1 a season ago. Holds on to that foul tip, and Hosmer strikes out 2 away here in the 7th.
Toronto, you see that arm side run that he has, pitching at the top of the barrel, fouling that off into Alfaro's mitt.
Singled in the 1st, doubled in the 3rd, walked in the 5th. Nice night, Hunter. Another nice night, Hunter. And a breaking ball for a strike. Renfroe unable to homer yesterday. It's not a criticism, just an observation after he had left the yard in 4 consecutive games. Only 2 Padres have ever homered in 5 straight games. Adrian Gonzalez and Greg Nettles, who homered in 6 straight back in 1984. It's a heck of an accomplishment and something 2 different Padres have done this year, Myers and Renfroe. After Robert Stock did work in relief of Walker Lockett, Phil Maton up. He will presumably work the 8th inning. 4, 5, and 6 due up for Philadelphia. Pods have broken through here, looking for more in the 7th, but Renfroe behind in the count, and he takes ball 1.
You see Alfaro much better in that situation there, keeping that ball in front.
Renfroe again fights off a fastball. Great crowd on a warm baseball night in San Diego. 35,098 in the building to see game 2 of this series. Padres shut out the Phillies 2-0 last night and have now won 4 out of their last 5 games. Two and 2. Renfroe breaks his bat and hits it into very shallow left center. That's Cabrera, and the shortstop makes the play to end the inning. Padres get their first run of the night. We go to the 8th, 5-1 Philadelphia.
Billy Hamilton, who's not even in the screen yet. We're talking defense here throughout our show. This is some good defense.
This is definitely some good defense. Not sure where he came from. He clearly came out of nowhere to make that play. Seen him make some better plays, but that certainly is a good one.
Billy Hamilton can run. Billy Hamilton can field. Hitting, not so much, but that's not what we're showing you tonight. 6-3, the Reds pick up the win over Arizona today, so it's still a very tight battle in the National League West. Tony Gwynn and I are working on Padres Live, the post-game show tonight, which will be brought to you by Cox Communications. When we see after the final out, there's some more great plays. Ryan Braun had a doozy. Center fielder in Oakland had one. We'll have highlights for you, and you'll hear from Andy Green after the final out. Jesse, Mark?
Mike, Tony, thank you both very much. Phil Maton on to throw here. Padres down by 4 as we open up the 8th. Carlos Santana 0 for 3 with 3 ground outs. One of them brought in a run. Maton making his 32nd appearance of the year, 3.09 ERA. And in front here, no balls, 2 strikes on Santana. Former Cleveland Indian has settled in very nicely with the Phils. Tribe running away with that American League Central. And we talked earlier about Mookie Betts and his great defense and everything else he brings to the Red Sox. They beat up on Baltimore last night. That game eliminated the Orioles mathematically from the American League East. There are 46 games remaining at that point. And obviously part of that is the fact that, you know, the Red Sox jumped out to 82 wins at this point. But Baltimore really struggling.
So you're saying there's going to be some changes in Baltimore?
It probably won't look the same next year, yeah. Tied a record, earliest any team has ever been eliminated. The 62 Mets, which of course is widely considered to be the worst team ever, the expansion Mets, and the 1932 Red Sox were also eliminated with that many games to play.
Well, that's the reason why you see Manny Machado in the Los Angeles Dodgers uniform. Free agent to be.
We haven't seen that in person yet. That's going to be interesting.
Now, unfortunately, because we won't see the Dodgers here at Petco Park, it's going to have to be at Dodger Stadium.
Santana takes a little bit high. Padres will play 2 weekend series in Los Angeles, one later this month, that Players Weekend. And then again, next to last road series of the season in September. Got him.
When you're America's Best Value, you don't need fancy uniforms. How'd you know it was clip-on?
Phil Maton strikes out Carlos Santana, 1 away in the top of the 8th inning, trying to keep this a 4-run game. Phillies jumped out to a 5-0 lead. Padres got one back in the bottom of the 7th on the Manuel Margot sacrifice fly. That was set up by Corey Spangenberg's triple. And a good curveball for a strike to Asdrubal Cabrera. That is a large, hard-throwing human being in the bullpen for Philadelphia, Tommy Hunter. You're going to wear number 96 as a relief pitcher. You're probably not going to be like 5'10", 175.
Seen a lot of those different numbers.
Sure.
96, 97. Aaron Judge, 99.
Adam Simber earlier this year with the Padres became the first number 90 ever in Major League history. Maton got 1 strikeout, and now 1 and 2 on Cabrera. 88, pretty uncommon number. Phil, not the only Padre to ever wear it, though. Unofficial trivia, Chiron Bob, who was the other 88 in Padre history. Speaking of big guys. Kyle Blanks. Got him. Back-to-back strikeouts for Maton.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the San Diego Padres and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the San Diego Padres.
I believe you are now an attorney. I think that makes you like you're a lawyer now. You can go argue cases in court.
That would be a scary thought.
First pitch swinging, Odubel Herrera fouls it away.
What was your uniform number? What would you love?
8. Gary Carter again.
Yeah. Mark Loretta.
Sure. Just in Milwaukee, there's a great stat with the Brewers about Loretta. I think he's got a franchise record there for most consecutive games played without committing an error at shortstop. Still holds that record.
Yeah, Steady Eddie. That's who we call Mark Loretta.
42-game errorless streak last year by Arcia. And that was the second longest in franchise history. Mark Loretta had 63. And now you know. Nice job by Phil Maton here in the 8th. Reyes, Hedges, Galvis coming up. Afternoon. Joey Fuego going to be on the mound for the Padres. Rookie left-hander taking on the veteran Jake Arrieta. Padres knocked Arrieta around pretty good in Philadelphia last month. They'll try and do that again here tomorrow afternoon as Lucchesi looks to continue to build on what has been a very solid rookie campaign. 12 o'clock on the air. First pitch tomorrow at 12:40. So about a half hour earlier than you might be used to for a Sunday home game. Make note in your desk calendar. Padres down by 4 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Franmil Reyes going to lead it off against the new Philly pitcher.
Now, Tommy Hunter has done a very nice job in the 8th inning. 11 2/3 innings. He has a .77 ERA in this 8th inning. Settled into this role for Gabe Kapler.
Roman Quinn comes into play center field. That'll be a double switch for Gabe Kapler. Herrera made the last out. He's done. And La Mole, the beast, Franmil Reyes, steps in against the 6'3", 250-pound Tommy Hunter. If you dropped Franmil Reyes and Tommy Hunter into an NFL training camp this week, nobody would look twice. According to BaseballReference.com, his nickname is Tommy Two Towel, which I'm guessing means he's a sweaty guy. Reyes, little tapper up the third baseline. Alfaro's got to hurry. What a play. On a night we're discussing defense, that's a very, very athletic effort by the Philadelphia catcher. One away.
You got all the gear on. You have to make the play barehanded and spin and throw. Momentum going towards third base, and he throws a strike to Santana. Talking about a howitzer for a right arm. Watch the quickness. On his knees and gets out there, eludes the bat, and momentum takes him towards third. Impressive play.
Well, I'm sure that was appreciated by the next batter, Austin Hedges. Good looking fastball right on the corner, 1-1. Speaking of football, Hunter pitched at the University of Alabama, made his big league debut with the Rangers 2008. As Auburn's Trey Winginter, another very large human being, warms up.
SEC represented.
And an Iron Bowl here with Hunter and Winginter. Aaron Nola, an SEC guy. Hard hit towards the gap in right center field. That's another base hit for Austin Hedges, and another opportunity for him to show off the wheels. Stolen bases each of the last 2 nights, and he cruises into second base here with a 1-out double.
There's so many things you can be impressed with Austin Hedges, the adjustments he's made offensively, the pull side. But when you take a pitch that's elevated and handle velocity into that opposite field gap, that's when you know you're hot. Austin Hedges has shown that. It's just a beautiful swing by the Padre backstop.
Two thumbs up. So Hedges in scoring position with 1 away. Freddie Galvis at the plate 0 for 3 tonight. Padres 0 for 5 in this game with runners in scoring position. It's been a strength much of the year. I hit the bat, and it's a tough break for Galvis. Now 0-2.
You hit the knob of the bat?
I think so.
You can see the barrel just dipping down and making contact.
Back to Philadelphia last month, that first game, there was a welcoming committee for Freddie Galvis. I mean, it was media members, stadium workers, everybody you could think of. Just thrilled to be able to see him, shake his hand, give him a hug.
Yeah, the ultimate respect.
Strikes out there on a close pitch outside corner. Now number 2 here in the bottom of the 8th.
Manage your dream team in franchise mode. Plus, get weekly stats, roster updates, and more. RBI Baseball 18 is available now. Learn more at rbigame.com. Rated E for everyone.
Villanueva back in the lineup after a couple of days down following that collision with Hunter Renfroe in Milwaukee. Minor wrist injury. And of course, hit by a pitch his first time up today. Andy Green very positive before the game today, talking about Villanueva and everything that he's been able to do as of late. Christian has set a couple of Padre rookie records already. He's got the rookie home run record in his sights, set last year by Renfro with 26. Villanueva's got 20. Christian now also is 1 RBI away from the rookie RBI record for a Mexican-born player. Benji Gil drove in 46 back in 1995. 27-year-old from Guadalajara. Fun to watch. 3-homer game at the beginning of the season against the Rockies, a true highlight of this year. Padres trying to get to Spangenberg, who tripled his last time. Corey has scored the only run of the night so far for the Padres. Villanueva, hard hit, but into the shift. That's Hernandez, the second baseman, and that is the 8th inning. Go to the 9th at Petco. Phillies with a 5-1 lead.
Ground, Hedges, Myers.
You see that ball go up, and it's just time to be an athlete and go make a play.
Hedges dives and makes the catch. Austin Hedges laying it out, makes the grab in foul ground.
Catch he made last year in Citi Field was, for me, the best catch any major league catcher made the entire season.
Austin Hedges last year, a highlight reel play for the ages against the Mets. You just don't see catchers generally get the opportunity to a full extension make a play like that.
Yeah, showing the athleticism, and I think Austin Hedges, and you know what, having A.J. Ellis, the backup catcher, on tonight, and really showcasing what Austin Hedges is all about, because we just get to watch him and watch him perform and talk to him occasionally. When they dive in as teammates and you hear high praise coming from A.J. Ellis, that says it all.
Now the third major league appearance for Trey Winginter, 6'7". We told you he was big. So far, very good in Milwaukee for Winginter. Had a lot of family able to make it from Alabama up to Milwaukee for the big league debut. Now an opportunity to pitch at home for the first time. Believe his folks are able to make it here as well. And he's got Michael Franco to start it off. Last worked the 8th inning on Wednesday night in Milwaukee. A 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts. And now ahead of Franco, no balls, 2 strikes. Made his major league debut in the 9th inning the night before that. Worked a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout of Christian Yelich.
You watch Winginter, and he has some deception in his delivery. Also with a big fastball. And as you touched on, Jesse, he has that stature in the release that's very difficult when you have that high release. The ball looks like it has good carry. Take a look at the delivery. Watch how he crosses himself and then closes up. For right-handers, you can't see that arm swing. You start seeing that velocity, very tough to catch up to.
Funny, Wingander, mentioned we say 6'7". He has no idea how he got to be that tall. His dad is 6'2", his mom is 5'8". I don't know how often that adds up to 6'7". Went to Auburn, as did his mom. Grew up closer, actually, to Tuscaloosa. Alabama did not recruit him. And another strikeout. Good slider gets Franco, one away. Time now for the Bill Howe plays of the game. Philadelphia using a little bit of long ball to put the distance between them and the Padres earlier in this game. Franco in the 4th inning, a solo shot, Western Metal. And then the very next inning, Cesar Hernandez the other direction, over the fence in right field. Both those home runs allowed by the Padres starter, Walker Lockett. He went 4 1/3, allowed 5 runs. And the Padres never really able to get much going offensively tonight against Aaron Nola.
Yeah, and Aaron Nola wasn't very dialed in tonight, but did pitch well enough to get out of certain situations. And Walker Lockett hurt by the long ball again, back-to-back starts.
So we've been talking about defense all night long. There's a big piece of news involving defense from the Padre perspective, and that is Will Myers tomorrow is going to play a 1-game rehab assignment. He's got that bone bruise on his foot with the Lake Elsinore team. They're up at Inland Empire, and he's going to start tomorrow for the Storm at third base.
It's going to be interesting, and I think we're going to probably see Will Myers at third base here at Petco Park when he gets healthy, when he gets activated. Just adds a little bit of versatility to his game.
Been taking a lot of ground balls there, and we saw him even today, before batting practice here in San Diego, working at it. He's an athlete, kind of has that natural ability to, be better than most guys anywhere. It's about now trying to hone in and work on the finer points, I think. And Myers, I'm guessing, is going to get an opportunity to start at third base for the Padres sooner rather than later. No other reason to send him to Elsinore to do that.
Well, I think athletically he can handle that challenge. But the difficult part is when you start throwing from the outfield and you have that long arm swing, and then you have to change your arm over at third base, even though there's some longer throws to make. Certain aspects of that position will be very challenging. Talked to Glenn Hoffman about the third base position, and he played shortstop for a majority of his career, but said it's a reactionary position, and right to left and side to side. But those swinging bunts and the bunt plays are going to cause some challenges as well, and that's what Will Myers was working on today.
Full count to Alfaro. 1 out, base is empty in the 9th, and Wingander walks him. 1 out base runner for the Phils here in inning number 9. Let's revisit our keys to the game, brought to you by your San Diego Honda dealers.
Oh, we wanted to make the Colonel proud, and the reason why I wanted to hang a star on some defense tonight. 0 errors, and that he had to be happy with that, and challenging Philadelphia's defense. Padre hitters, 11 ground ball outs, and clean defense on the other side.
First at bat for Roman Quinn came on in that double switch last inning. Pinch hit in the 7th inning yesterday and struck out. Appearing in his 12th major league game of the year. And Wingander with a filthy slider gets in front of him. Trey, by the way, was an engineering student at Auburn. Andy Green, finance at Kentucky. They can talk about numbers and SEC basketball all day, I'm sure.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Not great defense. That one gets away. And Spangenberg tracks it down. No further advance, but Alfaro into scoring position, and there goes the possibility of a ground ball double play. Error on Wingander.
Interesting play, because Alfaro's not going anywhere. Not known for his speed, doesn't have a stolen base on the year.
So Alfaro into scoring position. Myers, by the way, as we talk about Will getting that start tomorrow for Elsinore at third base. He's eligible to come off the DL Monday. And assuming everything goes well tomorrow with the Storm, it's a very real possibility. Elsinore, by the way, they are not at home tomorrow. So if you're up in North County or maybe Temecula and you're thinking to yourself, I'll go watch Will Myers play third base, just be warned. They're at Inland Empire in San Bernardino. So if you go to the Diamond, you might be disappointed. Two and two to Quinn. Held by Hedges, strike three. Boy, Trey Wingeter continuing to rack up the strikeouts in his first couple major league appearances.
Inconsistency on the slider, but when it's a good one, you can see it dropping off the table. Punching out Quinn, and you can see a very awkward swing.
And it's funny, at the beginning of the year, we talked so much about how the Padre bullpen was so different than so many others. They didn't really have these mid-upper 90s guys like basically every other team, and it worked. Hey, Brad Hand was nobody's traditional closer. Obviously, Simber was in the mix. Now, all of a sudden, some big-time velocity. This time, exit velocity, but not enough. Renfroe right at the wall makes the catch. We go to the bottom of the ninth inning. 5-1 Philadelphia. Aaron Nola, 6 shutout innings, 4 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts.
Not sharp tonight, but effective. Don't think he hurts his case for the Cy Young, but obviously he is known for having better outings, but made the pitches when he had to.
Never going to complain about 6 shutout innings from your starting pitcher, and obviously got the run support. He's in position to pick up his 13th win of the year, as the Padres will send Spangenberg, a pinch hitter, likely Travis Jankowski, it would appear, and Manuel Margot to the plate here in the 9th inning, trying to get it going against the hard-throwing right-hander, Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Well, the last time out in Arizona, he had a little hiccup. It was a third of an inning, 3 hits allowed, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, and a home run. Big hard-throwing right-hander. A very good story for these Philadelphia Phillies.
Made his major league debut back in May. See if the Padres can rally. Heat right off the bat, as you'd expect, 98 and a strike. Corey has scored the only run of the night for the Padres. Hard hit through again. That's another base hit. 3rd of the night for Spangenberg. Well, I said it earlier, Padres have had guys on most of the night. They just haven't been able to string together the big rally. Last chance to do so here.
Well, what's interesting for the Philadelphia Phillies, they're relying on a young right-hander that doesn't have a lot of experience. How long will that last? And the success early in the season doesn't necessarily translate when the pressure is on.
Another speedy left-handed hitter now, the pinch hitter Travis Jankowski. He was the only Padre to come off the bench in last night's game. Couple of 97-mile-per-hour fastballs. Bronco, the third baseman, in a little bit. Travis always a threat to bunt. Obviously like to push it towards the right side. Two balls and a strike.
A couple borderline pitches not called for Dominguez.
Jordan Hicks, the hardest throwing guy in baseball this season. Chapman, of course, right there. Former Padre, Tyron Guerrero, and this guy. We were talking about it at the top of the inning. At the beginning of the year, Padres didn't have any of these guys. Now all of a sudden, Wingender, Stock, Jose Castillo, pretty big arms.
Yeah, and they're big arms, and they're getting opportunities. And I like it. It's a challenge. If you're standing in that batter's box, velocity makes you speed everything up. Exposes you to that secondary stuff.
Ball 3 to Jankowski. Ground ball slowly to Hernandez. Bobbles. Now he's got to hurry. Got him. Boy, with arguably two of the fastest, or at least the two fastest, Padre base runners, not a lot of room for error there, and Hernandez nearly with a huge misplay. Figure at this point, if you're Andy Green, it's worth the challenge no matter what at first base. Probably out. Good look at it there, very close. But again, hey, ninth inning, you're down 4 runs. No reason not to let the guys in New York flip the coin.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jesse. You got to take an opportunity here. This is a 9th inning. You're down 4.
Mike Winters, the crew chief, and the first base umpire, Tim Timmons, on the horn. Remember, the ball's got to be in the back of the glove. It's close. Jose Perella thinks he's safe. Quick review, and he's out. Hernandez just got away with that. Travis fast, not fast enough. Spangenberg a few moments ago became the first guy all season to get a hit leading off an inning against Dominguez. Now in scoring position, but the Padres need a little bit more than that as Margot takes ball 1. Batters had been 0 for 31 leading off an inning against Sir Anthony Dominguez this year.
That'll make it easier.
Margot has driven in the only Padre run of the night. Sacrifice fly in the 7th inning. The guy he drove in, Corey Spangenberg. Hosmer, and then hopefully Renfroe. I guess if there's anybody you want up with the bases loaded, it would be Hunter. Here in Philadelphia after the All-Star break, they were saying Dominguez coulda, woulda, maybe shoulda been an All-Star. Wasn't. Starting pitcher tonight, Aaron Nola was. We have also seen Austin Davis, Victor Arano, Tommy Hunter. Padres have been retired in order only once tonight. Margot couldn't hold up. He strikes out, and now the Padres are down to their final out. Quickly, 0-2. And the Padres now down to their final strike. That's just your run-of-the-mill 91-mile-an-hour changeup.
Wow. Start thinking about the stuff, and you got to cover velocity, but also the arm action on that changeup.
Got it. 97 painted on the outside corner, and Sir Anthony Dominguez closes the book. Rubber game coming up tomorrow afternoon. Phillies take this one 5-1. Padres Live. The post-game show is next. Mike Pomerantz, what have you got?
We're going to talk about Aaron Nola, who had himself what you would call an efficient night. I think you guys described it perfectly. What made him effective, able to throw up the zeros? We'll have that for you. You'll hear from Andy Green and the best in baseball in a moment.